Yeah, so the best time for you was in Australia.
I mean, this is the wrong topic. We talked about not talking about these kind of things in the first 5
Fair
minutes.
enough.
Yeah.
We'll save it for a few minutes down the road.
Yeah, we'll
exactly
get
right.
back to Australia eventually. Like we're always every podcast we start out, hey Scott, tell us about your travels, and then we do nothing like that.
Well, I still think we left off at Mexico and then like went into nothing like that.
Yeah. It was.
We said the word Mexico.
Yeah.
a
This
couple
one
of
time in
times.
Mexico, then the next thing we're talking about who knows what
Tattoos
movies
and piercings, quite likely,
Hopefully.
and piercings,
politics,
and V for Vendetta,
mental health,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
which I've watched twice in the last week now,
V for Vendetta.
after never having seen it before.
Yeah.
I've
If
seen that
nobody's
when it
watched V
came
for
out.
Vendetta, you need to.
Yeah,
Is it good? I don't even remember if it's like if it holds up or
It holds up.
it's openly, unironically incredible.
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
That movie is like I was worried that it was not going to hold up. It is great.
Because when I watched it, like I wasn't unaware, but like, you're younger
Sure.
and your brain isn't as tuned to that kind
Yeah.
of thing, right?
Also,
And-
it was 2005, and
Yeah.
our standards were way lower back then.
In a way, yes. In a way, no. Some ways our standards are
Lower?
definitely lower.
Oh man, like now just to we were thinking about going to see a movie, and like now they have because no movies have been made or wanting to be released, so they have these like straight to DVD releases.
Yeah.
At the main theater,
No.
so you get these like crappy rom-coms and
Yeah,
things
you're
like
getting
that.
like Steven Seagal movies.
Oh,
and
dude, it's terrible.
You're like,
And-
Steven Seagal is still around?
And it's one showing. Each theater does one showing a day. That's
Yeah.
it.
Oh, and then
And
you
have
got to
groupings of
quarantine it or
two.
whatever.
Yeah. Like you have
Well,
groupings
they
of
have
two.
to, right?
I was trying to do the math on this and just think of like, okay, what actually is the impact on their business? So like
a 75% reduction.
easily, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you had 4 showings a day, you're down to 1, so there's 25%, and then your occupancy in each of those theaters
goes to
has
half,
go to
Well,
half,
then
at
this
third,
least.
or something.
This is where people are upset at Disney Plus because they've got their channel now. You pay whatever $8 a month for.
I don't know why the rest of these places haven't done this.
So, but what I'm saying is Disney Plus has movies that come out on Disney Plus that
Yep.
you still have to pay for.
Really?
Yeah, and
I didn't know
so
that.
people are angry about that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's dumb.
because they would have otherwise been in theaters. Say Maleficent came out.
Well,
Well,
Mulan's $40.
yeah, but
What?
so they're
If you want to watch
factoring.
Mulan,
If
it's
you were to
$40.
go,
I
to
don't
the
get it.
theater and
What?
watch it,
If you get it at home, because normally a movie's like $20 on
That's
Apple or
still
whatever, right?
crazy.
It's $40.
and that movie sucked apparently.
I don't know. I'm
Well-
not gonna spend $40 on it. I can
Wasn't
tell you that.
Blockbuster like $3?
But like when you
Yeah.
go to a
Well,
movie,
this isn't rental. That's to purchase.
when you go to
Oh.
a movie and you get your popcorn and your pop and you sit down and $60 later wallet,
Yeah.
like that's what they're factoring. So they're like,
Lord.
well, you're getting the movie still. It's like, yeah, but you're on your own couch
Yeah.
eating your own cheesies.
Yeah. What
Mhm.
you're paying
Right?
for is infrastructure. You're paying for that giant building
It's the
Yeah.
it's
and
the
all the
experience.
staff.
It's the experience, and yeah, you're supporting the staff working there,
Yeah.
running the movies and all that, and then the actors and whatever, right? So you're not just paying for your show; you're
Yeah.
paying for everything that went into it.
But paying $20 per serving of this little piece of intellectual property at a time, that still seems ridiculous for just sending it to your own home.
Yeah, it does, but this is why people are upset at Disney Plus right now. Isn't it?
Fair, touche. Well, I mean, a business
Yeah,
wanting to make money off of you?
more money. But
Well, they're not gonna
rich.
make more money. I can tell you that.
But they're rich already.
They're
well,
real
yeah,
rich.
but I mean, Disneyland is gonna get shut down.
Fair enough.
Disney
I don't-
World's
I don't
open
know-
up because Florida's wild.
Do you think that stuff actually makes them a lot of money?
No.
Like in the grand scheme
think-
of things, I think it's a drop
I think
in
they
their revenue
probably
bucket.
barely break even, but they do
Yeah.
those things so that they keep their
Well,
name about
It
or like.
builds the universe.
Yeah,
for it.
exactly. It's universe building,
Yeah,
I
right?
think,
exactly.
I think
Depth.
it's tax sheltering.
Could be.
I'm looking at more and more
That's-
things
that's-
now,
that's
and
where
just
the,
being like, oh, that's where their tax shelter
That's
right
where their
there.
illegal drug smuggling goes through.
Well, but that like so thinking about it, they do renovations on that park almost every year.
Mhm.
So they're they're trying to lose money, right?
Mhm.
Like they're building new parks and new worlds, and yes,
Yeah.
it's to inspire people to come, but really, it's so that Disney Plus or Disney as a company doesn't have to pay a lot in tax, and yet
Huh.
they can still make a ton of money and give it to their.
There are things like
investors.
that all the time. Like there was this there was a video game made recently that my brother and I were talking about, and I was like, why would you ever even make this? Like why would you ever, like who would want to play this? Like
There's so many of those.
and but but like his answer to it was like was probably a tax write-off for
Yeah.
someone, right?
Yeah.
Because no one's gonna buy it.
Yeah.
Like,
Because you
it's-
can't make too much money.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand how much infrastructurally we have available to us at what rates we do,
Mhm.
so people can avoid paying taxes on their other businesses.
Yeah.
Like
there's-
we were watching this thing where it's like this ski lodge thing, and then I started thinking this is probably the same for yachts when people buy a yacht, because you can rent out the yacht to people, so it's a business now,
Mhm.
and then you can write off the depreciation of your yacht. So if you paid $200 million for your yacht, you can write off 10% of that per year as depreciation on your taxes.
I
And,
see.
and meanwhile, you're only bringing in $1 million for renting it out.
Yeah, maybe. Like how many? I know there's rich people out there, but like you have yachting seasons, which is like 6 weeks a year,
I
and
mean,
those
in
things go for
Canada.
$100,000. No, like in anywhere, because like
Anywhere,
the
yeah.
yachts travel to different like areas of the world depending on
Mhm.
where their yachting season is, because
Yeah.
like stormy seas and blah blah blah
For
blah
sure.
blah. So it's like I got hard into Below Deck. This is garbage series. This is why I know all this shit. But basically, it's like they'll go from the Mediterranean to the Florida Keys to the Bahamas to the Philippines and things like that. And these yachts will travel the world, and they're all just money floating around.
Wow.
And I just think about it like, okay, $20 million depreciation per year on your taxes. Great.
That's
That makes
handy.
it so you don't
Yeah.
pay tax.
And it's just out sailing around the seas.
Yeah.
I see little buildings all over even this city, little businesses, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Why is this here?
Yeah.
Who's going here? Like,
Yeah.
does anybody shop here?
Yeah.
No, you never see anyone in them.
No.
They're open. Like
Yeah.
that's a tax write-off.
You mean like a consignment
lawn-
store?
Well, sometimes yes. But
those
there's
confuse
all
me.
kinds of them, like in and around the downtown area, where
Yep.
I'm like, "What is this?" And
How
my
is
answer
this?
is, "Yeah, how is this? How are they keeping the lights on?"
Yeah.
And my answer to it is, it has to be money laundering or a tax write-off or something.
Yeah.
Like there's just no one in there.
Well, what first kind of got my attention to it was they always talked about like Hong Kong people getting their money over to Canada
Mhm.
or to the U.S. Like when capitalism was being taken away from Hong Kong and it was becoming under China rule again. And you see that with the real estate investment that's happened, like the amount of Chinese businesses or business people that own property in Canada that will never have people in them, but they just own property. And like that goes for businesses too.
I think it goes for like, you watched Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah.
So when Walt bought the
The laundromat.
laundromat,
Yeah.
right? Like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's just there to have a business so they can launder money,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? I think that happens a lot with drugs. Probably happens in this city, right? I
Oh,
mean,
I wouldn't doubt it.
right.
Oh, of
well, with
course,
our
yeah.
we've got quite a few drug problems in this city.
Us? What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
Not at all.
What are you
So-
talking about?
I'm sure that there's a few businesses like that in this town
Yeah.
where it's like it's just open for that purpose, and anything else they do is gravy, maybe.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a prominent drug dealer in this town getting like Breaking Bad style rich.
It's
Mm,
possible.
it's
Like,
possible.
obviously, there's no one with a super lab in our little redneck town, but is there a kingpin who's wheeling and dealing and moving large volume?
Behind the scenes, most likely, but it might be farther down the chain, and
It's-
we've just got a derivative of it here.
Yeah, it's probably some dude out of Calgary or
Well, but in terms of making it, probably China.
making it. Oh yeah, China. Well, Mexico's got a lot of super labs.
For sure. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that like the fentanyl thing, that's China.
I heard some stuff about fentanyl. It might all be some conspiracy theory
Sure.
thing, but weren't there
Love
a couple
it.
guys?
Let's go.
Yeah, weren't there a couple guys in the U.S. arrested for having?
I'm sure many people in the U.S. have been arrested. But yes, go
We got to
on.
the bottom of that one
Yeah,
fast.
Nailed it.
Weren't there a couple guys in the U.S. that were arrested, like high up CEO, board of directors level dudes for pharmaceutical companies that were actually
And he's on the fact check.
there? Okay, thank goodness, that went to jail or were convicted of leaking the fentanyl, like selling their fentanyl in the black market from their pharmaceutical labs.
I have heard nothing about this.
Okay, I heard this like 2-3 years ago at least.
2 or 3 years. Well, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
But like in terms of because like the idea of what's happening with the fentanyl being spiked in everything, I
Yes.
think is because if I understood it correctly, that a lot of the things are made in the same areas in China.
It's so easy to get crossover.
You get cross contamination.
Yeah.
See, I
It's
understood it very
less like
differently.
nefarious and like not even like they developed that carfentanil,
Yeah.
yeah.
which is like 100 times stronger than regular fentanyl, which there's no patent for. or
And
whatever.
sufentanil.
Oh,
I
sweet.
was actually investing in a company one time that was developing a product called Desuvia, which is a sublingual fentanyl product.
Well, that's
So it was like
terrifying.
it was a controlled dose, and of course it's like the rest of fentanyl. It was to be made for hospital, doctor administered use only.
Oh yeah,
Because fentanyl was
of
never
course.
meant to be like an over the counter take home.
Oh,
and,
No.
of course.
you know, it was never that. It was always meant
Almost
to be
nothing was-
direct. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Really? Like, well, all of these drugs really at
Yeah.
one point were medical.
Yeah, I
first.
mean,
Yep.
well, like the weirdest ones are always like Viagra. Viagra was like for heart attacks and
Mhm.
stuff like that, and then it was like, oh, it's
Just kidding, it gives you a heart attack.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
an erection.
It also
great
does
byproduct.
this. Yeah.
that's
They
where
just
we
found
make our
out
money.
later. And then it became its prime function.
And how weird would that be in hospitals where you start giving patients this for their like heart condition, and it's like, hey, so that thing you gave me.
So,
It's actually to help them not roll out of bed.
so
Kickstand,
while
I like
you're
that.
looking for that, I wanted to get into what I want to get tattooed today because
Ooh.
I've had 2 weeks off, and then that first week you're not really thinking, but now I'm like my brain has been working all week. How do I want? Because I've got this, I got this hard finish on my shoulder now,
Yes.
where Rick left off, and his black is very black, and my back was like kind of gray washy black, like I've said on an earlier podcast, Lee was gonna like re-black it because
Mhm.
it doesn't match up.
Yeah.
So now I have this like hard, like circular finish up the back, and it's kind of driving me nuts. And the only way I can do anything about that is redoing everything over here. Because once we start broadening it, it's just gonna continue. Like it's gonna be darker than everything around it.
Well, in theory, you could actually shade.
You could feather it out.
You could feather the like even if you
Keep
did
feathering it, man.
if you did a 4-inch feather, you'd never notice the change in blacks.
Well, what I'm thinking is a better option is, because I wanted to do this anyway, is to do like a black on black tattoo. So
Oh,
because
wow.
Rick's black goes over this stuff pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Please, I'm so stoked for that.
And what I want to do is, if there's enough space, I want to do like a filigree finish, like what I have
Yeah,
on my
Yeah.
my jawline,
Perfect.
but just around the border of this,
Mhm.
and then we can do the same thing over here.
Sweet.
And the worst thing that happens is if I don't like it or if it looks like crap,
Now you black it
you
out.
just black it out, right? But like where I'm only getting tattooed every 2 weeks now, it's gonna be a while before I'm working on this stuff. So
That's right. That's
I don't want to just leave it like this forever because it's really, really noticeable.
Still a glutton for punishment.
Well, the punishment aspect is fine. I don't care about that. I can budget the pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I just don't want that hard finish. Have you ever been to a point with a tattoo where you're like, I like what this is going to be,
Yeah.
but I hate it
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
That's what just happened to me last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I could see that because like how black it got. I could see
It
that
stayed
it
that dark.
sparked something. Like there's this like trigger that happened in you. It was like, oh, it's black, and now I need to do more. It was like, because I don't know. I think you just had it.
Complex line of reasoning.
Well, I just think you had this like idea in your mind that arm or your arms especially had been tattooed so much that was like the saturation you were getting. It was like there, right?
I think what happened was, for then maybe the skin was just so beaten up that we couldn't get much out of it because we
Fair.
just kept working on it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fully healed yet
Mm.
because me and Lee were so aggressive. So it's just like,
Yeah.
just leave me alone, right? Just leave me alone. And so now it's been healed for a year.
I was gonna say, so if you hit a year, you're probably noticing that.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been over a year. Well, this arm me and Lee did fully in 2017.
Yeah.
And then this one was all done at the start of 2019. And then we did all this mid 2019, right?
Yeah.
So here we are at nearly the end of 2020. So this arm hasn't been touched since Lee left.
Hmm.
And even then, when Lee was still here, I was working with Rick for the last few months.
Yep.
But me and Lee started the blackout on my foot before he left.
Yep.
We did that. We did a crazy, crazy session. We came in here at like 7 a.m. on January 1st. And we had coffees, and we turned on podcast, and we were working for like 4.5 hours, which was an insane session, by the way.
4.5 hours with Lee is like 12 hours with someone
Yeah, we
else.
did my whole foot, and we went all the way up to here. We did,
So were you at the bar and wasted, and like now's a good time to get tattooed?
No, it wasn't like, it was like, we're ringing in the new year the best way possible kind of thing.
Okay.
Like, it was like, we planned to do it. But I knew that I wanted to get started with Lee.
Yeah.
And then it would be easier to keep going with Rick kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because starting fresh on a blackout is like the worst feeling ever. It's like, okay, I'm just going to put this piece here, and it'll be this big, and then everything around it
solid black.
Yeah, and everything around it is kind of halfway covered.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, that looks ridiculous, right? And then next week I'll put another stab here, and then I'm floating over here, because you can't be working on tissue you just touched, right?
Of course.
Well, and you're consistent, and imagine if it's someone else that's like booking in every few months.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That
That would
would
be-
I have-
little
I have
strip
one of
that-
those.
Yeah, I know you do.
I have a girl getting a half sleeve blackout with kind of some like abstracty pokey parts. Like
Mhm.
pick up a stick? Pick a stick? No, what am I thinking of?
Kerplunk?
Nah.
Kerplunk?
Do you remember Kerplunk? Those
too
are
early
those
for
little...
Yeah, I remember
Those are those
Kerplunk. It was
things.
like,
Are
you know,
they?
Kerplunk's like better Jenga. I
Yeah,
always felt like.
it is.
Like
Okay,
Jenga
so-
was just like
I'll pull up Kerplunk.
derpy Kerplunk.
So some icicly things kind of like kerplunk.
Yeah.
And she comes in 1 hour at a time. She comes in for 1 hour. We
Is
do a
it
little
just
bit.
all she can handle?
That's all she
or-
can handle. And I do a little workout on her.
Kerplunk.
Yeah, kerplunk-esque.
Kerplunk.
I was reading a girl's caption the other day. She just blacked out her arm, and
Mhm.
like she did it all like a couple sessions, but she numbed her arm for the whole thing.
Okay.
And her caption was solely about what it felt like. She's like, "Oh my god, it was the most painful thing I've ever felt. My elbow is like dying and all this." And I'm just like, it's really not that bad. It was all done with a mag. There was no liner used, and that's where most of the pain is.
Some people want to feel like they're tough for having endured a tattoo.
Oh, but
know?
see, I really don't enjoy that part of it, because I feel like that cool.
Oh, you don't
kids-
enjoy the pain?
Well, no, I
you
mean like
masochist?
I mean the part where people they brag about it, or
Yeah.
like they talk about how hard it was, because
Mhm.
all it does is further the stigma that, you know,
That it's about pain.
that it's about pain, or
Or that the pain is a bad part of it.
yeah, the pain is a bad part of it, and you can't hang with us kind of thing, right? Cool
exactly.
Kids Club.
Yeah.
Like if you've got an armpit tattoo, you're some badass or something. It's like, no, it's really not that bad. We need to stop saying it's that bad, because people don't need to be that scared about this
Mhm.
stuff.
Well, tattoos in general.
No, none
Like
of it's
that's
that
where
bad.
like none of it's that bad. I always have to do a lot of like explaining for a first timer to try and explain like you're going to be fine.
yeah.
I mean, I've had some that bad tattoos.
well, it's not
when I-
pleasant always.
When I tried to line out my knee,
Yeah.
I didn't make it.
Well, but like nobody's lining out their knee for their first sit, right?
No, goodness.
So like that's where I'm always like the people that I have to talk to are like, I'm gonna get a tattoo here,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you'd be all right.
You'll be just fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
yeah, that's always the funny thing to me. Is like there's not too many areas that people would recommend for a first area. Like, what would you recommend for first area? I would say front of the bicep,
Yeah.
somewhere
Top
here,
of the forearm.
right?
Whenever I'm talking to
else.
someone who's looking for their first
Side of the
tattoo, I
shin.
always recommend forehead.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Forehead
Forehead
eyelids.
is a great
it,
area.
It usually gets a laugh, but sometimes it's not. and I'm gonna
Actually,
do a sweet
having a
forehead.
forehead tattoo, I will tell you that it bleeds like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not that painful, but it bleeds like crazy, and so does your chin.
Well, I'll tell them that.
Yeah. In case you have anyone inquiring about a chin tattoo, it bleeds.
It
and
bleeds a lot.
Scabs
I've
like
never done a
crazy
chin
too.
tattoo.
That's why mine is still, after being touched up like 3 times,
Mhm.
it's still a little bit spotty.
That's
and
crazy.
Rick's work doesn't go spotty.
No.
Like He's to the point where I don't even want to ask him to do it anymore because I feel like he's annoyed with it.
I will tell you, he is moderately annoyed with it.
Yeah. Well, I can feel
I don't even
that.
think that it's like because he's annoyed of doing it. I just think there's very few things that Rick has come across where there is something that he can't put ink into. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
It's-
that's
it's
No,
whether
I
or not
felt
he
the
wants
last
to.
time I
Yeah.
asked him to do it, it was like you could feel the annoying kind of
Yeah.
vibe coming from him, where he's like, "Okay, we'll do it," but it wasn't happy, you know.
yeah. Well, I think it's almost like you're trying to like touch up your knuckles. 'Cause
Yeah, it
it's-
is.
It is that kind of like bony.
And it scabs every time.
Really?
Like, I've never had a clean heel
Hmm.
on my chin. It's like it gets all like crusty because it
Hmm.
just keeps bleeding.
Yeah.
For like a day and a half, it was like, oh, a little bit of blood, and then that blood scabs up, and that's like you can't be cleaning it all the time, right? You
Throw
can't
some
clean.
aftershave on it.
Yeah, you can't sit there and wipe it dry over and over.
No.
So you just kind of have to let it be, and then
Yeah.
when that falls off, it loses some of the ink.
Yeah.
I've never had anywhere bleed more than the chin.
Oof.
The forehead is a strong contender, though.
I've buttered my chin too, but never from a tattoo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Unless the stubble's tattooed
The
on.
stubble.
that's right.
Hey, I seen a Unilad this morning. Hairline tattoos are changing people's shape of their faces forever. I'm like, yeah, but what happens if you bald?
Yeah.
That's
You've
the
just
thing.
got this hairline tattoo and a big receding hairline.
I've got the widow's peak. People are like, oh yeah, you could put a little bit of tattoo spackling in there. Yeah, and then the rest goes bald.
Mhm.
And then what the fuck am I doing?
Well, you
Well-
tattooed the rest of it.
Well,
No.
that's what I was telling Kevin about one time. was
won't.
I had a buddy who had a forehead tattoo,
Yeah.
and he didn't do it. Like, he did it the way he wanted, and the tattoo artist did a good job of it.
hmm
But his hairline kind of receded a little bit, like
Mhm.
the widow peaked a little. And now he's got this, like, straight, like, font, and it just accentuates the widow's peak. So he's always wearing beanies and
I
stuff.
mean, you know my deal. Forget about it. Shave it off.
Yeah.
Speaking of face tattoos, though, yesterday I saw something on Instagram, and a reel or something, where this rapper kid that I tattooed a treble clef on his face, he was like openly singing in the car and like showing off this face tattoo of his.
Uh-huh.
So it's
Yeah,
fun. So I come back around.
What I love is the Instagram picture that doesn't say it's about the tattoo,
Mhm.
but the tattoo is at the forefront.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was a
Where it'd be
low-key-
like, just hanging out with my lady today, and
It was a
she's like a
low-key-
speck in the corner, and
low
his
key flex for sure.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. tagging the artist in there, just very subtly hidden.
yeah, it's just here's the tattoo, and it's this far away from the camera, and here's everything else in the
Mhm.
picture all the way over here.
Yeah.
Nothing is said about the tattoo. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, just say what you mean then.
I like a subtle flex though. Like it's like
A subtle flex, not
it's not subtle,
right in your
but the fact
face.
that it's not like being talked about, it's pretty
Deadpanning.
hilarious.
Like I was talking about
You
going
can
to
enjoy things ironically.
going
Yeah,
to the
oh, yeah.
grocery store with one of those septum pieces in and just, are you staring at my nose?
Yeah.
Is there something on my nose? Right? And I don't even seem to notice it's in. Like deadpanning things.
I got to admit, like, because I haven't had a lot of tattoos for a long time, but I've had a lot of tattoos for like 4 years now.
Sure.
And I totally forget that I have tattoos, like,
Oh yeah.
or that I have a considerable amount, or that
But it's
people in
di-
my past may not have seen me with a considerable
It's
amount of
different when
tattoos.
you're walking around like you and I. There's no neck, no face, no hands.
Yeah, right now
You
I
can
look like
be
nothing.
tattoo-less.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
as soon as winter's here,
Yeah,
no
we're-
one
we're
sees my
covered up.
tattoos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even at work, barely.
But this is one of the things I say all the time is the danger of going too far. I'm very, very presently aware of, and a lot of people aren't. A lot of people don't
sorry,
see
what?
themselves from. No, it's
you're,
true.
You're what now?
I am presently aware of the danger of going too far.
Okay.
And you may be sitting there going, "Haven't you already done that?" But
If,
not.
if this isn't the threshold,
No,
Where are
no.
we
There's
going?
there's far more than me. There's far more.
Oh, I know.
Like
Oh, yeah.
when we talk about people like the Black Alien Project or
Mm.
some of these other people, and no
I would be
shade.
interested to talk to them.
Anyone with the dermal,
the guy is
the
apparently
silicone
brilliant.
dermal
Yeah.
lumps, the horns,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things.
Yeah, the subdermal implants.
I call that a bit far.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
for me personally.
No, I get you, and then that is too far for me too. Because
Yeah.
when I started this out, well, what I've talked about this before, but when I first watched Modify, it kind of warped my idea of body modification
Yeah.
from being kind of prepubescent in a way to seeing a grander scope of what can
Mhm.
be done. I was like, these guys are going crazy, and I'm just over here with a couple piercings in my face.
Yeah.
I gotta step it up, man.
Well, it opened my horizons to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what this can be, and then it's like, but I still want to look like a human at the end of it, and I don't care if you don't want to be human anymore. There's some people who are literally trying to be like, there was a guy, Tiger Man or whatever,
Oh,
who's
I've seen a few. There's a couple cat girls. There's a tiger guy.
The snake guy.
Tiamat
Ooh.
Dragon Lady, where she's trying to become a dragon. Like that's fine,
You mean
whatever.
succeeding?
I don't care. People can do what they want, and it's cool, and I
Yeah,
support it too. Like I
100%.
like their images and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
we're in the body mod industry. We
Yeah.
should probably support
Yeah.
these people in their
But
endeavors.
like that's too much for me. So
Yeah.
like when I start seeing myself warp a little bit, I'm like, I don't think that's like I've even talked about bringing my lip down a size or two, and I'm still knocking that back and forth because I'm like, it's not that I don't like the way it looks. It's sometimes the functionality just isn't as good as it used to be,
Mhm.
and like
Mhm.
I'm completely honest about it because people need to hear that stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and
Can't just be bigger all the time.
There's no reason to glamorize something and
Well,
then
that's the
be
problem, right?
dishonest about how it truly affects you.
you try and put it out there because there's no way to Google it. It's not like you could go, well, so someone could go and get their lips scalpeled at 35 millimeters tomorrow, right? And then they're like, holy crap, I can barely talk, right? Because if it's that much bigger than mine, I can imagine the mobility would be
It'd
horrible.
be difficult.
Well,
Yeah.
especially when you're hitting that learning curve from
Oh,
0
for
to
sure.
hero.
Because I've almost relearned how to talk as time has gone on.
So is that how they do it? Do they make a slit?
So that didn't happen for me.
You pierced
Oh, I
He's
pierced
stretched
at like
and stretched.
16 millimeter or 16 gauge, like back in like 2003.
Yeah. Okay.
For
That
those
makes
who
way
don't
more
know,
sense.
16 gauge is real normal, like real normal size piercing.
I think it's even
Very
smaller
small.
than the recommended size these days.
They probably recommend 14 out of
They do.
Yeah.
14 is standard for almost everything now.
Yeah, yeah.
But back then, we didn't know the same things we know now.
Yeah.
All right, and we will know more soon
Oh yeah.
because the piercing industry is like
It's taking off.
The
they're-
envelope is being
the
pushed.
piercing industry. Because I've listened to a lot of APP conference like podcasts and
Yeah.
Real Talk podcasts. It's a piercing and like the Piercing Wizard and all these different piercing podcasts. And these guys are nerds.
Yeah, of
Like they're knowledge nerds, like for piercing stuff. Like
Yep.
they're always studying and
In a lot of ways, the piercing industry has more runway than the tattoo industry.
yeah. Well,
But the
they're
tattoo industry keeps changing the type of art you can put in skin, but it's still trapped in that two-dimensional package, right?
so there's a podcast that I listen to particularly about the subject
Yeah.
on the Piercing Wizard, and it's all about this debate that goes on in the piercing community about whether it's an art form or a technique.
Mm-hmm.
And most piercers don't consider it art, but some get annoyed when they're not called artists because tattoo artists are artists.
Yeah.
Right. But then piercers are not quite like you can do a design on an ear.
Yeah, I was gonna say
but
curating an ear is an art.
curating an ear is kind of that, but like
Mhm.
otherwise it's just doing the technique right.
Artist has a couple of definitions, though.
Yeah.
You know, like if someone says, "Oh, that person's an artist," you don't think, "Oh yeah, he probably plays guitar." But a musician is an artist, but you don't call them an artist first because when you say artist, you're referring to someone typically who makes sculpture or impression on 2D.
I think people are
Platform.
very, very like bizarre in what they think about art and artists.
Well, it's
It's-
entirely like obviously I feel like we should have Sarah here as the authority on it, but like
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
like it's subjective, right?
For sure.
Like that's the nature of
But,
art.
like-
So it's unfortunate that like because like anything, I understand that like you can't have function in it, which like to be honest, all tattoo and other than cosmetic tattooing, and or reconstructive things, but like piercing and tattoo, the alteration for the sake of alteration, that'd be art.
Yeah.
Like no way around it.
It's
I know
all-
there's a technical side of both. Like I can understand why a piercer would feel as though they are just, you know, piercing it correctly. But it is an art form. You're changing the body.
I'm more on your side of this issue, but I've listened to some people who are just like, nope, there's no art in it. We're just doing a surgical procedure. That's it. You put the jewelry in. See, these guys think more like they're merchandising, because a lot of these higher end piercers, they're not even selling the hole anymore. They're just selling the
Selling the
jewelry.
jewelry, yeah.
Right. So
The hole is
they're
a
putting a
byproduct.
hole in there so that they can sell you a $1,200 piece.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I mean, we got here. You got a little bit into that. There was some higher end stuff,
Oh, they're doing it a ton out
Sure.
of the Kelowna one.
but like I seen some pieces in here for a couple $100, right?
Well, I think the highest we got were the nostril pieces that were like $700 to $800.
Sure, you can go upwards to $5,000,
Yeah.
and that's what a lot of these shops are. They'll break them in like, okay, let me show you your options. Here's this one. Oh,
Mhm.
it's so nice. Oh yeah, it's got a $4,000 price tag.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you don't want that one. Maybe you want the $400 one.
Yeah.
Like those are the options they're carrying a lot of the time now,
Right. Yeah.
because they're not selling as many piercings anymore, but they're selling more expensive piercings.
Well, it puts you into a couple of things, which like it, because I come from the world of retail sales,
Sure.
and like you're at like if you don't have price points that can go up into a certain area, your margin is way lower. Like the margin is going to maintain your, like you have more room to play as you get more expensive, right? Like, or
Well,
it has more of an effect on your business. But like also you come with a different type of clientele.
Yep.
And
You
someone that's
weed
going to
out
come
the
in,
lower class people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against nothing against anyone that wants any particular price point.
Nope.
Ever.
But there's
You
a
know what I
shop
mean?
for those people already.
Well, but the thing that ends up happening is the less that you have invested in something, the less that you respect it,
Mhm.
usually. So like if you have a ton of money into a piercing, the odds that you're going to go home and soak it properly and care for it and have like and be in communication with your piercer and look after it is a lot higher because you have more invested in it. Whereas if it's something that you were given for free or like someone stabbed you with a tack in a basement, you're not gonna look after this thing because you have zero investment in it.
Well, and then, like I said about people are getting less piercings now, and they are spending more per piercing generally. The guy who did most of my piercings in this city years ago, he pierced since the 80s. He did all kinds of below the belt stuff, and in the 80s he worked in Texas, and that's all they want there, he told me. He had a book of just below the belt piercings, like just full of them. So you knew
Really?
you were safe in this guy's hands because he's pierced anything and everything that moves.
See, Republicans.
Yeah, well, that's because most of piercing was like it started out as fetish.
Yeah,
Like it started out as like gay men, leather
yeah.
fetish, like corsetting,
Yeah.
different things, like more like fetish sexual stuff.
Yeah.
And it's only very recently that it's been, well, in American culture anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's only very recently that it's been necessarily visible.
Mhm.
It started with belly buttons and noses and stuff, and then they figured out eyebrow piercings and different stuff like that. But it's primarily been sexual enhancement and stimulus.
Mhm.
So most
And
of
here I
what,
thought earrings came first.
well, they did. Then more like 1950s and stuff like that, earrings really blew up in North America. But in the 70s and 80s, it was all pervert stuff.
Mhm.
And pervert is as in a term of endearment too.
Okay.
Like
okay.
not because they took that term
That's
as like
right.
they owned it.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they were happy with that term.
Mhm.
Kinksters and perverts and
Yeah.
gay clubs and stuff did a lot of that. And it was very synonymous with leather fetish.
Mhm.
But anyway, as time went on, it became more and more about showing off and stuff like that. In the 90s and the early 2000s, there was a boom for piercing where you seen lots of eyebrow piercings, lots of lip piercings, lots of nose studs and stuff. But into the 2010s and stuff like that, that started dying off. So the guy who did most of my piercings said he would have stayed as a piercer if there were more people like me.
Right.
But
right.
there weren't that many people who wanted 15, 20 piercings in their face.
So you're explaining the process 5 times a day to people who don't know the process.
That ends.
And that'll make you crazy.
So it's like with tattoos, you'll have people come in and they'll get a tattoo, then they'll go home and they'll want another one.
That's right.
That doesn't happen as much with piercings.
No.
Most people they'll want the look of one piercing. Like a girl will want her nose done.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the next week she's gonna want this side of her nose done.
Yeah.
And then it's this, and then it's an eyebrow. And then
Well, and it seems like we get an influx of a certain type of piercing when a celebrity gets a certain type of piercing.
sure,
So like we would see like a rook piercing come in a lot because so and so got a rook piercing, and there was photographs of this person with this high-end.
Trendsetters.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like all of a sudden everybody was asking for that one, and then somebody else gets a different one, and they're all asking for that.
yeah,
one.
that's all I heard on the piercing podcast too. Was
Yeah.
so and so got this done, and now it's all I'm getting.
Yeah.
Should I embrace that, or should I be annoyed about that? And then Pierce reminiscing about how they miss doing certain piercings.
Yeah, of course.
Like, oh, I really liked doing eyebrow piercings, but no one wants them anymore. You hear that kind of stuff from piercers all the time. So anyway, the guy who did all of mine was like, there isn't as much money as there used to be in this, so he's not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
He didn't make the transition, I guess, to what I was just talking about merchandising, where you're not going to do as many, but you can make more each one.
Yeah.
And this is how,
Yeah.
right? Even Sarah was talking about this the other day. She's had her septum for, I think she said she got it in 2006 or 2007.
Mhm.
So she cares a lot about it. She's like, I really want to get a really nice piece for it, like upwards to $800,000.
$800,000.
$800,000.
Well, 800 to 1,000.
I know. I'm just sorry.
800,000's a bit much.
You know.
But like, if
Couple
you're gonna live
houses.
with it forever,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
treat yourself.
100%.
About it because it's like a part of her, right?
Mhm.
She's very proud of it and how
Well,
long she's had it.
And like some of those septum rings are gorgeous.
The clickers, yeah,
Oh man, they're ridiculously beautiful. Like
yeah,
especially when you see like because they look fine in the stand, but when you see them installed on someone, man, it's striking. It's
Yeah.
it's like seeing someone with a nice diamond ring or something like that. Like all of a sudden it's like this like blam, and it's
Is it
right in the
oh,
center of their face.
clicker septum piercing?
Yeah,
Clicker.
yeah. So it basically is just like a septum ring
Yeah.
that clicks on the inside, so you can take it in and
Yeah.
out pretty easily.
Oh, okay, cool.
But like the really really fancy ones, like the Buddha Organics or
yeah.
there's a ton of them. But like especially
Okay,
the
nothing crazy.
you can get no, they're not crazy at all. In
They're
fact,
meant
like
to
they're
be
really
subtle.
subtle.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have this like really like striking subtle
It's
attachment.
similar to when a woman gets a really nice wedding ring.
Yeah, yeah.
And everyone's like, look at the rock on that thing, like that kind of thing, and it's shiny and it's like you can tell almost the quality of it, or that's the idea.
So if I wanted to get one piercing
Yeah.
that wouldn't get screwed up when I do something stupid, whether it's surfing, mountain biking, dirt biking, whatever,
Don't get one.
trade work, whatever, I don't want to end up having a piece of my body ripped out.
Yeah.
What would be a good single
I
piercing to
I
get?
think that's a great question, and the best
Tongue,
piercings,
maybe.
the best piercings to
Chicken
live with,
bone right here is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Perfect.
like an
Uh,
actual chicken bone. I'll sterilize it, I'll autoclave it,
Yeah.
and I'll have a chicken bone right through here.
I mean, I could wear one. So
I know
Yeah.
you could.
people are always like, "Oh, you're gonna get an infection or something." Like that's not how that works.
No.
If your
I'll-
piercing is incredibly well healed and
Yeah.
no.
I don't think people understand the difference between an irritation and an infection.
Oh, not at all.
Because like an infection, you got problems.
Yeah.
mean,
Irritation is
Infection
like this
and
thing's
piercing
grumpy.
is almost never the case.
Yeah.
Here we are, what, 80 years after discovering antibiotics?
Yeah, I know.
Of course, people's confusion of what an infection actually is
Yeah.
wacky.
Yeah. I always think like we have these magic boxes, these answer boxes, and yet there's so much misconception.
People are so bad at deciphering what information actually fucking applies to them.
Yeah, we
I gotta
think
stop
that box magic is magic for most questions.
Yeah.
See,
However-
I'm a good Googler. I can dissect information and gain an average from a variety of sources, right?
Yeah.
The average person just doesn't seem to pull that off so well.
Well, I think we're also like people look for the extreme of it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like
Well, you
If
get the
you go-
hypochondriac thread,
Oh man.
and you follow to the bottom, and
Yeah.
oh, I have
Do you
testicle
know-
cancer
Let
now.
me give you a tip. If you think you have an infection, never look up tattoo infection.
no,
Don't ever do that.
it's a terrifying thing.
The images are like people with their skin is falling off.
Yeah,
It's like what is
legit.
happening here? This
I'll
didn't
do
even.
it.
Yeah,
I've
go
had
ahead.
a couple, and
I've seen it.
it's never as bad as that.
No.
But I mean, I had really bad infection once.
Yeah.
But
and it has to go real wrong.
Yeah.
For it to be,
Yeah, that noise.
Yeah.
So just because I don't want to lose this point real quick, because you said what is the best piercing to live in if you're going to be doing stupid crap and knocking your head around and whatever the hell else. I think the best options you have for that are not the tongue, because you could bite your tongue and really fuck that up. Something like a small lip stud.
Okay.
Septum. One on the side of your nose. They're pretty.
Yeah, side of the nose seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, just something small, nothing big.
I'm just picturing like a branch getting hooked on it as I'm hiking
Just
through
a
the bush.
little tiny stud.
You do a stud.
Yeah, then you're gold.
Yeah, I
the
don't
ring
wear-
is.
But now does that suit me is the question. Then I'd have to like figure that out because I don't feel like that would suit me personally.
Well, because you have no piercings and I don't think you've ever had any.
No,
Like,
goodness.
It's hard to picture. But
I'm an electrician.
I could
Piercings
see,
have always
like,
been like if you want to blow up.
yeah, I mean, I could see like a little nose stud if I had
Yeah,
to
I was
put
gonna
one.
say I could see. I
No
could see.
And
a
for
nose stud,
Kevin,
yeah.
I would put like a little tiny labret right here in the chin hair here, or
In
like
here?
the under lip. Yeah,
A
Just for that little pop.
labret being the one with the flat back
Yeah.
and the point thing.
That would be your best bet, I would think.
and another one I could give for Kevin is like a bridge piercing,
Yeah.
because he has like a pretty.
Pronounced fridge.
Yeah, you have a pronounced bridge. The light hits your bridge in a way that would really make.
I could have a
bridge
striking
bomb.
bridge.
Yeah, but I'm good at like looking at people's faces and being
Yeah.
like, this would go good here,
Yeah.
because I've done a lot of piercings.
Yeah, yeah.
I've actually done quite a few piercings for people in my house, which I do not recommend.
Yeah. Don't.
But like,
don't recommend that.
I don't. But like, I did it when I was young,
Yeah. Yeah. of course.
right? Because like, obviously, I like that stuff, and I've
Did
done
you
my
use
own.
one of those
I had piercing
one hole
needles.
punches?
No, I got them from Painful Pleasures.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get just I had like I actually found them last year. I still have them in my cupboard. Obviously they're expired.
Yeah.
But they're like 2-inch long, and I was like, holy crap! I can't believe I was using these things. Cause like they're like too friggin' long. Like
Yeah.
it's like that long.
Why?
like-
Why would you need that?
Don't worry, that's all Lonnie uses.
Well, when you're
No.
young,
That's
right?
those are the only ones I've seen.
Oh my god.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
When you're young, you don't really care as much, and you don't really know, and you're just kind of like, these will work.
Mm.
But now I'm like, I'd have to push that all the way through. It just seems like a lot of trauma for no
It
reason.
is a lot of trauma. Like,
Could you not like lube it up a little bit?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
of
sure.
course.
Get that KY jelly on
But
there?
even still, it should be in and out. Because you
I
do
don't know why he
use.
doesn't love my jokes.
I don't know either.
I always get you.
He was like so serious about
Well,
it.
you
Yeah.
do
Yeah, I mean,
use.
KY,
you do
you know,
use
throw it
a little bit of lubricant
I
for
was gonna-
most piercings.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, I was
true.
gonna say Vaseline, but
No.
No, KY.
KY all the way.
Yeah, right through there.
What's that spicy, intense feeling?
Yeah,
KY?
exactly. We poured a little bit of cayenne pepper into
There
it.
was a story I seen on Facebook the other day. This kid went to school with lube instead of hand sanitizer or something.
That's so funny. That is so funny.
It's not quite the same.
He's just feeding cherry flavored lube to his friends.
Yeah.
Just
Best hand
it
sandy
doesn't
ever.
dry. Ugh.
Yeah. It's,
No, that's a
Just
prank.
constantly like.
Yeah, I don't
What
know
the
why
hell?
my hands are so wet.
I feel like I could probably put a lot of lube in a lot of hand sandy bottles
Mhm.
and start swapping them out at stores.
Yeah. I
No-
feel like
and
that's
then,
like a.
And then you just stand back with a little video camera and film people slowly realizing that something is wrong as they're going into winners.
See, I
you
think
know?
that's hilarious, but I think in the climate now, you'd get like charged with that. You'd
Yeah, I
get,
could
like
see
some
that.
sort of
Hot.
like Oh, I know. I'm just saying that like
They would
that's the
frame
type
it
of
as like
world
some
we're in.
weird like sexual thing, right?
Oh yeah.
No,
you're-
no. I
you're-
think it would be like a
you're gonna go to jail as a pedophile. For
no.
sure.
I think it would be like endangering the public or whatever.
you got lube on a child's hands.
Endangering
Yeah.
the pop.
No, seriously, because like if it's hand sanitizer and you're removing the hand sanitizer component, you could be endangering
What
the
if you
public.
did? What if you cut it both ways?
I will.
50-50.
I'll
So
I'll
it's
cut
a
it
bit
both ways.
lube and a bit hand. So
Yeah,
you couldn't
50-50
say your
mix.
hands weren't sanitized.
It's actually
Yeah,
just
it's
extra
just, they're
splotchy.
also slippery.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's potato moonshine
Right. Yes.
mixed with lube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
I don't mind moonshine, to be honest with you.
I don't know that I've had much moonshine.
I've had some really bad moonshine.
I've had some good
and
moonshine.
Some really good moonshine.
Yeah. See, the good
The
moonshine.
problem
is
with
like,
moonshine is it's such a broad thing,
Yes.
right? It's literally anything and everything. under
Well,
the-
it's supposed to be non-aged whiskey,
yeah.
right? I think,
Supposed to be, but
because it's
I
not.
call it
it
homemade
gets called
whiskey.
Yeah, that too.
anything that you've made yourself, pretty
That's
much.
moonshine.
Like anything your grandfather's out in his shed drinking generally is
Yeah, that's
could
moonshine.
fall under moonshine.
Yeah.
But you can make moonshine. It's not just whiskey. Like I've had moonshine tequilas, moonshine vodkas, moonshine, you name it.
How? I thought moonshine was like a type of liquor.
I don't
No,
think
it's-
so. I think it's
It's a
anything.
home distillation
I
process.
think it's anything that's homemade.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a simpler distillation process, and there's certain like levels. Let's play a game. There's different levels of proof required.
Oh yeah, like it's really high, like 80
Yeah.
to 100 proof kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like 100 proof it's still like 56%.
Yeah. I think it's more like 100 to 200 proof.
Yeah,
Oh,
because like I've had
see?
some scotches that
Oh.
are like 140
Moonshine
proof.
literally means illicitly distilled or smuggled liquor.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's actually the process of making it at home.
so
that
how
makes
do
it
they sell moonshine in the store?
Like I said, anything that well, it might
supposed to
just
be
be
illegal.
branding.
It's a
It might
gimmick.
Oh, yeah,
it's branding.
yeah.
It's like calling it bootlegger whiskey.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
my
yeah.
grandmother used to always be, "Oh, your grandfather's out with the moonshine," and it's
Mhm.
literally just it was something different every day, but
Yeah,
he was
it-
always
it-
drunk as a
It was
skunk.
a Mickey of.
Right? That was the only thing that was always the same. He was in overalls, cobbled over in the garage, working on some car,
Working on
Moonshine.
working on something, drunk as a skunk,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because he didn't want to be inside the house. Right? That's moonshine to me.
That's
Yeah.
That's what my understanding as a kid growing up in Nova Scotia was. I'm sure you have a similar experience of.
Yeah, so my concept of moonshine is more directly tied to its actual definition.
yeah.
Where my grandfather or my uncle, whoever, would get some moonshine and be like, I got this moonshine.
Yeah,
It's
it was a huge event.
96% alcohol. And then they'd immediately well no, there's always a mason jar of it somewhere. Because like
Sure.
we had
Yeah.
a it's in New Brunswick, so we had a very much garage culture.
Yep.
The boys are always out welding something, working
Yeah,
on
that's the same
snowmobiles.
as Nova Scotia.
Yeah, we're always very similar culture. We're always out in the garage. So there's always a mason jar of moonshine somewhere from whoever. Like we never made it ourselves. It was from whomever.
Uncle Ernie.
Yeah. Whoever down the street, whoever up the block, whatever.
Some guy
There's
made
no
it
blocks
somewhere.
right in the bush.
Yeah.
Anyway, my early memories were like, hey, this is 96% proof, and then you pour a beer bottle cap full of it and light it on fire.
Oh,
Those are my
okay. Yeah.
earliest moonshine memories. Is like, look at this, it burns.
Yeah.
Burns us like gas.
I just love that concept of proof.
Yeah.
Light it on
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
Well,
That's proof, all
yeah.
right.
well, I remember like
It'll
thinking because
burn.
like people would drink so much of this hard liquor around me when I was young, and they were always like, "Ooh," that's like they would always seem like they enjoyed it, and then
Well,
like
yeah.
when you go and you drink it as an adult or like teenager, when you start
Yeah.
drinking, you're like, "Whoa, like I can't drink this," and it tastes like straight poison. Like
I mean,
you
it
think
is straight
normally it
poison,
would kill
technically.
you to drink this stuff. But I've seen adults around me that seem to be enjoying it.
See, well, they do enjoy it. It takes time to learn
Well-
that flavor, though.
Like I like beer.
Yeah.
Like beer has a nice flavor on a hot day. A nice beer, that's a thing.
Mhm.
But I don't drink all the time, right? But like a nice crisp beer on a warm afternoon, summer kind of day.
See, I love a good whiskey neat. I'll be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm in that
you,
route.
you give me like even this isn't even a high end thing, but you give me some Macallan 12,
Ooh, yeah.
and I'm not putting an ice cube in that. Like
No.
I'm gonna sip on that nice and slow.
Yep.
Sure.
But
That's a good evening right there.
what it took me a while to learn in my coming of age, because I grew up drinking a lot of Fireball, snowmobiling, whatever.
Yeah.
But when it got to the stiffer stuff past the Fireball, it took me a while to learn how to breathe properly.
yeah.
For some reason, like I could take my hard stuff as a kid, and soon in my early 20s, I started breathing wrong whenever I drank hard liquor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like
You
one
get it
of
in your
10,
nose.
one
and
of
it's
10
all
times get in my
weird.
nose, and it accidentally fucking snort it everywhere, and that was a bad time.
Yeah.
That's like an embarrassing thing to do. Like everyone's taking a shot, and you're like, "Ah, ah."
Well, I'll
And
tell you,
I think that's most people.
when I was growing up, everyone around me drank pretty good. My stepdad was drunk a lot. My mom was a drinker on the
Mhm.
weekends. She was always having parties, and there was always random people showing up. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you remember your Uncle George? Like, I've never met this person before in my life. Hey, come give your Auntie Sheila a hug. It's like, Sheila's like this. I always thought of this person as like almost like a figment of a drunken imagination. 'Cause
Yeah.
she just
Yeah.
sort of appeared when there were drinks around. Right? You never seen her when there wasn't
She's
alcohol
like a
out.
fairy godmother,
And
but
she
for-
was
for
always
spirits.
drunk.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she still looks the same as she did then. Like she
Yeah.
was like a 60-year-old woman who looked pretty good for her age.
Mhm.
Now she's a 75-year-old woman who still looks like the same person.
Wow.
But she only shows up when there's liquor around. It's like the great or the green gazoo or whatever on the
not a
Flintstones.
coincidence. She needs liquor to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So whenever she shows up, it's only because there's liquor there, or because she brought.
I just
a lot
wonder
of
if
liquor.
she's like full time, like just showing up at people's houses, like popping in and out, like
Yes.
whenever they have parties.
Yes.
You know.
Seems about right.
But like she reminded me
free
of
drinks. That's-
Fred Flintstone's green imaginary alien
Yeah.
friend. Hey,
Yeah.
hello, Fred.
exactly.
Oh, like I was like, yeah,
Aunt Sheila. Yeah,
Aunt
she's
Sheila, the drunken like
tequila
imagination
fairy.
of my mom or something. right?
Sorry, Aunt Sheila.
Yeah.
So
sorry,
anyway,
sorry.
I grew up around all these people who were always drinking, and Dave was always drinking too,
Yes.
my older brother, and so I was like, I'm gonna outdrink these people, kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
And so
Which is
the
a
way I
stupid
would,
thing to try
well,
to
the way
do.
I would drink is like, I would see the amount of liquor in something, and I would just take it like water,
Mhm.
right? Like it would be like, there's this much drink, I can drink it this quick, and I wasn't thinking about the content. So I would like drink like a fish, and then I would be like absurdly wasted quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't learned the talent of drinking. Because there is a skill to it, right? There's pacing. And
There's a
like,
skill to drinking and staying up past 10 p.m.
sure
Yes.
there is.
That is accurate.
Because like, here's me, a pirate hat, a Nightwish t-shirt, and a man skirt for some reason, drinking like a fish,
Mhm.
and puking hot dogs all over the place. That was me at 18.
At 9:15.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And telling everyone how much I loved them.
They call that a maritime
Aw.
good time.
Hey, Dave, you're my rock. And I'm hugging him, and he's like, you stink. And
Just don't throw up on
you've got
me.
vomit all over your shirt. Please go away. And then my other brother,
it.
Nathan's like, if you touch me again, I'm going to push you into the fireplace. Because Nathan is a bit strange that way. But yeah, no, I didn't really understand drinking quite as much as I should have then.
Man, I just like when I think about alcohol in our culture, and I look at like France or Italy.
Yeah.
I just think we kind of got it screwed up a little bit. You know what I mean? Because like,
Binge drinking's kind of the devil.
yeah, well, and like our connection to alcohol is real weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's this rebellious thing that you do when you're a teenager, and like the idea is to get loaded.
Yeah.
Like, which I don't know. Like I think alcohol can be used well, and I think it can be used not so well. And I think
Sure.
in North America, I don't think we use it very well.
Well, like when I got married, I had my bachelor party, which
Yeah.
was not many people, but like the idea is, oh, we're gonna get this guy drunk, right?
Yeah.
But like I had no desire.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't want to be drunk. I haven't been drunk in years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I get tipsy. I'll have a few drinks and I'll
Oh,
be a
yeah.
little tipsy. That's good. That's fine. But I don't want to be drunk.
Yeah.
Because all I have for memories of being drunk is like I just told you about the one incident. And I'm just like, I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just feels like I'm poisoning myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for no
Well, you are.
benefit.
Again,
Because I'm going
you
to
are.
feel worse the next day, too. It's not like it's just going to be over
Oh,
in this
no,
moment.
no. You ruin the whole next day.
Yeah. I'm
maybe
gonna be-
even two.
Yeah, if you do it bad enough, you'll be sick for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When I
So-
left the church, I really thought the thing you did on the outside was drink until you can't see anymore Friday and Saturday night.
Well,
Yes.
for a
So
lot
I-
of people, it is.
So I spent like 6 months kind of in that routine before I figured out, oh, you don't just do that, you idiot.
Mm.
Probably
See-
the wrong word to use. Anyway,
Why?
I don't know what I can say anymore.
The
So-
answer to that is nothing. You can
Almost
say
nothing. Don't worry about
so the
it.
moral of the
Almost
story
We've
most
already
words.
offended like 30 people.
Yes.
I very nearly died in a lot of snowbanks that winter.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
Because if you're not taught it, and
Yeah.
and not to mention you're gonna see other people doing the exact
I woke
same
up in a
thing.
van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See it?
On 2nd Ave South, handed to the
Ooh.
bars there. It was like there's like a carpet one or something there.
Yep.
And I woke up in a 1980s carpet van. Really cold.
How did
really
you get into
cold.
said carpet van?
It was
It's
just
just
locked, I
open.
think. I assume.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember peeing behind a dumpster, and I remember waking up in broad daylight, hypothermic as balls, super hungover, and trying to like orient myself without leaving the van. So I stood up and went to the back of the van, and it was all carpet knives and carpet tools. And then I started walking.
Yeah.
Freezing.
See,
And when I went into Canadian Tire to try to warm up, I damn near threw up, so I had to
would
go
not
back
doubt
outside in
that.
the cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the heat would be real overwhelming.
Yeah, sure
Yeah.
was.
See, that's a terrible experience, but it's a great story,
Yeah.
right? And so what I think a lot of the time is drinking gives you great stories to tell later.
It does,
At the
if you
cost
live.
of your,
If you
at
remember
the
them.
cost of your momentary happiness.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's like a trade-off. Well, I'm gonna suffer for a while, but it'll make a good story to tell forever.
Well, if we're telling stories, so I had a
Of
broken
course.
collarbone. I had a broken collarbone, and I was in Regina visiting my friends because I got a collarbone. I've got 4 weeks off. I may as well go to Regina.
Yep.
And visit the gang. So I show up in Regina, and my second night there, and my collarbone's good enough now that like I'm still in a sling, but I can walk around without it being a big problem. So we go to the bar, and it's somewhere in Regina. It's $1 beer night, and they have these little beers for $1.
Oh,
So I get ridiculously beer
30
drunk.
beers.
Yeah. And then can't find my friends.
Yeah.
And then I do find my friends. And like, oh, we're leaving soon. So I get my coat on and go outside. And I don't know where they are. I'm too drunk to discover anything. So I'm like, they can't live that far from here. And I just start walking. But
No
every time I
idea
look
where
at my
you're going.
map in my drunken stupor, because I had my phone with me.
Yeah.
But I'm too drunk to use it properly. So every time I look at the map, I just got to turn here and then keep walking this way, and we'll be good. And every time it seems like their house is getting further and further away, and I just can't figure out why. And in the end, like, so I only have vague bits of this memory, but I laid down in several people's front yards. Oh, it's -20, by the way. Of course, I laid down, and I've got a hoodie on. I laid in several people's front yards. Almost died in a few front yards and snowbanks. Managed to jump a couple of fences and cross a lake. The lake crossing was fine. When I got to the cattails, the ice broke, and I'm like stomping through there. It's cold enough it's not wet, but I'm still like waist deep in danger zone.
Yeah. Hypothermic.
Yeah. And then, well, I'm moving enough and not hypothermic. And then
That's good.
finally someone calls me because I don't have the ability to like do anything with
Yeah.
my phone. So finally someone calls me. I don't know where I am. There's a sign here. It says Appa Statuki Abu. You're at the First Nations College.
oh,
And then
geez.
fortunately someone was sober and came and got me.
Oh.
And saved my freaking life.
There's so many of those stories, and
Yeah.
I'm amazed how many people survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, another
That was a
one of my
near-death
mom's
experience.
friends. Another one of my mom's friends. He has what was one of the funniest stories ever. But the culmination of it is he drank so much, but he always drank so much. That was nothing new. But he went to take a piss behind a tree, but he passed out with his thing out,
mm-hmm.
pants around his ankles,
Oh, wow.
up against this tree,
Okay.
and he was there 12 hours, I would say. And this mom and her daughter found him with his pants down around a tree, and Mommy, what is that? And they called the cops, and he
Yep.
got arrested for
Indecent
indecent
exposure.
exposure and all these
Oh.
different things.
Yeah.
And he's not a he's not a weird pervert or something. He was a drunk.
So what we're learning is don't drink until you lose control.
Yeah.
You massive piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, but like I don't necessarily think that it's like I think it's our culture's relationship to it.
yeah.
Like
well, we made it into
And it's
too.
our responsibility to build a personal relationship with it that is responsible
yeah.
and not going to ruin or end our lives.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of the things that I'm kind of grateful for with like my family. They never really like they're German and Hungarian and all that, and it's like the wine and stuff was very normal in our
Yeah.
house. Like I think the first beer I had was like 8 years old.
hmm
Like just so I could understand it, and like there
course.
was an introduction to what this was. I still made my own, stupid decisions and all those
Yeah.
things, but it was like
That's
it was
youth
far
anyway.
more normal, and like it was kind of like, hey, this is what it is, but just so you know, everybody else does this with it.
hmm
You know what I mean? And like I've been thinking because like we are the weed capital of the world now.
Yeah.
And like I had on Monday, I had weed beer.
Mm.
So there's this it tastes just like a pale ale or
Mhm.
like a Hefeweizen kind of thing,
Mhm.
and it's 5 milligrams of THC, 5 milligrams of
This is just a
CBD.
baby shot.
Well, it's like Yeah, but for me,
Yeah.
like THC edibles, that's a
Take
good
you
amount.
there.
So I
Yeah.
had 2 of those, and I was
Mhm.
just thinking to myself, like, if you just had weed beers, and nobody's getting drunk, and you're getting high, because like
Oh,
if you overdo it and you green out, you're fine.
you're gonna sleep great.
You're gonna sleep great, and you're not gonna go wander in the snow. You're gonna sit in the couch, and
But
you're
you
gonna
can
be
still-
probably terrified.
Do you think here's a quick one. Do you think that if we would be able to drink beer for the first time now as opposed to having it forever,
Mhm.
do you think we would have it anymore? Like, do you think we would still want it?
I
Because it's just grandfathered into our culture, right?
I think there's, for a certain amount of the population, they get a dopamine rush from it.
Yeah.
And I think that dopamine rush is pretty, that's like, because like I think one of the reasons that the alcohol is so prominent is that like the dopamine rush, that's like cocaine. So it's like, imagine cocaine is legal.
I want to pitch a scenario.
Okay.
Imagine you've never had beer in your life,
Mhm.
Okay.
and then today you sat down and drank 4 beers in an hour.
Okay.
You would drink beer again for sure.
You think?
I
I
think
think
with
if
that,
I'd-
I think those small amounts, like that's where I think there's that golden zone where alcohol is really can be beneficial.
Yeah, like four beers in an hour.
yeah, but
like,
like
I'm-
40 beers in a day, not great.
Well, I've been
Moderation.
I've overseas working in a bar. I've been a beer alcoholic for a period of my life. So now like a beer high isn't a super exciting time for me. I'm a little it kind of makes me groggy.
Yeah.
But if I've never had beer before in my life and I sit down and drink 4 beers,
Guess it would
I'm
depend
gonna
on the
feel
type of
really
person you
good.
are.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think there's anything really inherently. That's where I'm like, substances are substances. It's what we do with them, right?
yeah.
And like, I think that there is something to be said. Like, I like whiskey
Tylenol's
neat.
fine, but
like,
if you take 40 of them.
yeah, you
Yeah,
die.
it becomes yeah.
Like, that's the number one overdose is Tylenol.
Yeah.
Not even just that, but what it does to your system if
Yeah.
you take
Oh.
it continually over
Yeah,
time.
Scrapping
Well,
your liver.
But alcohol does the same thing. A lot of people fail to say that. It's like, oh, I won't take Tylenol because it hurts your liver, but I'll drink.
Yeah.
And it's
Every
the same
week.
same thing. 6 to 1.
If anything. But like that, people say that about me getting tattooed all the time. What's that going to do to your liver? What's that going to do to this? What's
Nothing.
that going to? But like people think anything, like they'll think, oh, this is all like anything in abundance is too bad, right?
Yeah.
But like, how much are we drinking? How many bad things are we doing
Well,
all
just
the
everybody's
time?
got their own.
Right.
Imagine
vice,
our
right?
livers were collecting tattoo ink and that we all have black livers now.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
That'd be really cool.
We would see that already though. in
Well,
the
some
research.
people think for whatever reason that my liver is gonna suffer from all the tattoo ink.
Well, I think a lot of people think that you're putting ink into your bloodstream,
Yeah,
which is
ink poisoning.
that's a really stupid thing.
Yeah,
Like if you're going that deep, that you're putting it into your bloodstream.
there's all
oh,
kinds
boy.
of crazy ones. Like apparently I can't sweat anymore because I've tattooed all.
I heard
Really?
that.
I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
When I work out, I still sweat.
That was one of those things that I was like, when I read that article, and it was like, yeah, so tattooing might affect your sweat glands. I was like, so you've never talked to a tattooed person about this? Because nope, you still sweat.
Well, that's what they say.
I know this guy.
Yeah.
The Japanese tattoo suits were done to avoid the armpits so that they could sweat.
So it's a similar thing to like the theories along the sweating thing, because like the Botox community has moved over to sweat glands for guys. You know this?
No.
It's not just for faces anymore. They use it in a lot of different ways. They use it to numb nerves because it's like
Well, yeah.
it's like it causes the thing to stop moving or whatever. I can't remember what they call that. But they use it for sweat glands for guys too. So it's like every 6 months or so you go to get injections into your sweat gland so it numbs out and you don't sweat anymore. So I think that the theory is that like you're going along the same route as that, but again, you're going into a different
Yeah.
area. Your sweat gland's lower than
Yeah,
that.
people are always like, I'd like to see what your levels are and like all these different things because I figure around 800 hours of tattooing now, somewhere in that area, like legitimately.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And
nowhere
then,
near
like that might even be too few.
Yeah.
Like when I do the math and I calculate it all out every week for however many years, and sometimes the sessions were 9 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours. Like I think it's factoring conservatively to some
Yeah,
extent.
yeah.
I would say so, yeah.
And they're like, "What's your health like?" Honestly, I'm in the best health of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've ever looked or felt better. I feel like I look 10 years younger than I did 5 years ago,
Mhm.
kind of thing. And people think that I'm going to die young because of it or something.
No, it'd
Like,
be
you
quite the
should see the
opposite.
stuff that people will send to me. Oh, you're going to give yourself cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have skin disease or something.
Mhm.
They won't be able to detect,
Don't worry, they're typing that comment while they're sitting on the beach in
Sure,
Mexico getting
these-
a sunburn.
or they're
Eating
so
Cheetos.
overweight and depressed they can barely move and
Yeah.
don't even want to move
Yeah.
anymore. Like, it's usually coming from the worst of society. But at the same time, I'm like, what is making people think this way?
He just judged people.
Well,
Sure did. Yeah.
that's-
Well, we all do it.
yes.
But like the people who are going to say that, it's like, what is the medical basis for that?
I would be.
The medical.
So-
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that you can't have any medical basis for it because the majority of the population doesn't get 800 hours of tattooing, so they can't
That's
do
what
a
I'm
randomized
thinking.
controlled study on anything.
I'm kind of charting not new territory, but very rare territory.
Well, so when I see these things, and I saw that article about the guy whose sweat glands or whatever, and it was one of those like, okay, so this might be a thing, and the only evidence we need is one guy to have one situation
Yeah.
that he thinks might be because he has a tattoo.
He could
And-
have any other problem.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention, who knows what medications that person's on?
Mhm.
Who knows how that person's immune system's going? And not to mention, when did they notice this thing stopping?
Mhm.
Like, there's no way of actually
Yeah. How are we
isolating
going to
that.
pull 100,000 full body suits?
You can't.
Don't get a red tattoo. It gave me diabetes.
Oh, dude.
It's all
just that
anecdotal.
everything is
Yeah.
anecdotal, and like that's what happens when we're in the extremes. You know what I mean? Like we're at the and because technically, even though more of the world is coming on to this than we are, but like to be heavily tattooed is still in the minutia of the world.
Don't worry, when China takes over, tattoos will be illegal.
Be illegal,
again.
yeah. Oh yeah, we'll be dead pretty quick.
Oh yeah, we're the first to go for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Hey, man, I'm always saying it. An indiscriminate death would kind of be okay by me. So they say, okay, everyone with tattoos has to go. Okay, well, that's at least reasonable.
Yeah.
And reasonable to the extent that they're not
I don't
just
know. I
killing
don't know
me.
if
'cause-
reasonable's the word.
Well, no, but at least they're not just.
You know
they're
what,
not
China?
targeting me specifically. Like, hey,
Oh,
I
I
don't like
see.
you.
Yeah.
You are a dick, and I've always wanted to kill you.
See,
Or like,
I almost prefer that.
well, I guess
As,
that's
as a raging individualist.
Well, see, I always just particularly think like a giant meteor that ends everything would be the best
Yeah.
end there is because
It's the most likely.
well, and then there's no one that can be particularly upset because it's like
I think
okay,
every religious person would be particularly upset.
wow. What I'm getting at is like when someone murders a particular person, there's like an animosity there where
Sure.
it's like I want this person to not live anymore.
Yeah.
A meteor is just kind of a force of nature that just everyone's gone now.
I really want to live 6 months longer than the mass extinction event.
You want to
Just
be
just to see what happens. It's not a survival thing. It's a curiosity thing.
Sure. At the same time, like, I don't know. I don't know if anyone will care because it's gone. Like,
Well, this
no,
is
that-
what I
that-
pictured.
that's why I
Everyone's
care.
squabbling.
I'm curious to see what it looks like.
the visual of it, just to understand like
I'm
the
a
situation
huge fan
after
of
the fact.
dystopian
Yeah, I know.
concept.
Yeah.
So if there's ever dystopian, or obviously we're living in a dystopian concept right now.
Yeah.
But in a mass extinction event specifically, I'm just so curious what that looks like.
See nature reclaim cities.
Yeah,
It happens quick.
I once lived in an evacuated city for 2 weeks while everyone was still outside of Fort Mac for the fires.
Oh yeah,
I got essential status, got to go back in and drive around this empty city, and it's eerie and cool and as cool as the movies. I can only imagine if everyone was actually dead, not just evacuated.
Just everyone is dead, and you're the only one alive.
or not the
there's
only
a
one, but
few people.
of
Because if you have a few people, then there's problems.
but,
Yeah.
Because then it's fighting over resources.
I'll die post mass extinction event, but I want
Sure.
to die post mass extinction event long enough to get a surveillance of the landscape and understand what this new society looks like, where it's going.
What's your post-apocalyptic garb? Do you have the bullet strap vest and the shades and the combat pants
I think you got to go bow and arrow.
I'd go in like Snake Plissken from Escape from New York.
Solid. Yeah, solid choice.
Cigarette
depends-
hanging out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Just call me Snake.
Can't find food, but there's cigarettes everywhere.
That's right. It
I
depends
have
on the
24 hours to live.
Yeah. Yeah, the irony of you dying from lung cancer after the world
Yeah.
goes extinct. Yeah.
And everything is darkly lit and
Yeah.
everything is extra edgy. That's
Yeah.
my post-apocalyptic dream.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
fair.
maybe I'll go full tripper. You know, because
Yeah.
like if it's the end of the world and you know that post mass extinction event you don't have a bunch of time to, you're not gonna live a long fulfilling life.
No.
So I'm gonna eat a lot of acid,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
and I'll probably dress like such. I think I'll wear.
This is, you were saying,
It depends on what my daily threats are.
yeah.
Chances are, like, me, I'll probably just wear a lot of Carhartt crap. That's generally how I dress outside of work.
Yeah.
So
Even
chances
in
are it'd be that.
post-apocalyptic, I'm decking
Or-
Carhartt.
If the threats are low, then maybe I'll dress like a full tripper.
Yeah.
I've got lots of pink clothes. I've got a onesie. I'll do
Yeah.
some cool stuff with that. I'll wear like a bandana.
I always wonder what like people would dress like if there was no society. Like, and I don't mean like, oh, we go back to caveman days and then we all just wear poncho, whatever. I mean like, say we had
They had
no
ponchos?
introduction to caveman poncho, right? Like, yeah,
I'm picturing loincloth.
Yeah.
like with a club and
Yeah.
I'm picturing a poncho, like a
Right.
nice patterned poncho. Like,
So I'm
Aztec.
thinking like
yeah.
no society, so we have no North American culture. Do we just dress full on comfort, or do we find our own interesting style? Or
Are there mirrors?
I
'Cause that's
don't
the only
think-
reason we
I
care
actually
right
don't
now.
think mirrors are going to be a thing for much longer. I've already said this. I think eventually we're not going to want to see humanity anymore.
I think we'll see a version of humanity.
Yeah.
I think when we get into augmented reality and stuff like that, I think these filters start being permanent.
Right. Well, they'll be in our vision.
Yeah.
Like we won't even be able to see ourselves
Well,
anymore.
like if it's a snowy day, I don't think I'm seeing a snowy day. I think I'm seeing
However
a
it
sunny day.
works, I don't think the way I'm seeing you right now is going to last forever. We're
Obviously.
just not okay with
You guys
it.
have very different views of the
Well,
future.
we're
than
not
I do.
okay with it anymore. We're
Well,
not
see,
okay
your
with it.
future is that we don't get to that point.
True.
Your future is like, yeah, we're probably out before that. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe
Here's
maybe
what
we
I
get
wanna
the
see.
AR goggles before.
Maybe 50 to 100 years from now, I'm looking at Kevin and he's buff, 220, lean muscle,
Mm-hmm.
and he's sitting
And
there.
how
with
are
a
you looking at me
perfectly-
right now?
He's sitting there with a perfectly groomed beard. And
Buff 215 lean
Thank
muscle?
you.
well,
Thank
no,
you.
I'm
Nailed
not.
it.
But you know what I mean? Like everyone will be their
Yeah.
perfect version,
They'll be the idyllic self,
and we'll be running some software where everything is just keyed up that way.
and we'll still be depressed.
But we
If
won't
this
actually be
happens,
that.
I'm moving to the woods.
Oh, dude, it's happening.
Yeah, no,
It
I'm
is
sure
happening.
it's
I'm not.
It's
I'm
happening.
gonna come to town once a year in this future.
I think that's probably wise.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna have an electric truck with solar panels on it, so it takes a full year to charge.
Yeah,
enough to get
Cybertruck,
to
bro.
town.
I
So I
often
can only
think
Cybertruck to town once a year anyway.
well,
I often think that like that's not The Last of Us though. Like that's like humans are so in flux.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is a version of us we're gonna live through where, like I said, Kevin will be the perfected Kevin that Kevin might dream to be to everyone.
I think in a society where enough of our effort is focused on that part of ourselves, that facade,
it's too much.
people are obviously not focusing on what's important.
Well, no,
to
but we're
propel
not,
the
though.
human. Yeah, but I'm hoping for a future
This
where
is where I was going. Is I don't think that's gonna last forever. I think what
Yeah.
you're talking about is going to come rearing back. Like it's gonna come back full throttle, where people are gonna go, nothing's real anymore. I don't feel connected to
Yeah,
anything.
I'm hoping for a mindful awakening where our daily pursuits and daily intentions are putting down the black mirrors.
I think people will
And-
get sick of the connection to devices and the lack of humanity.
I think the only way that happens is if psychedelics become more common, because like,
There's a race for that too.
Well,
oh,
the,
dude,
and the
it's
threat,
happening,
and
and
the
I love
threat
it.
to our survival becomes more pertinent.
Sure. I think
like more extreme water wars. I mean, obviously not here, but overseas, the more extreme the water wars become, the
So-
more.
here's my theory.
I like theories.
Okay, so
Keep wanting more coffee.
we will run toe to toe with this path, which is like progress because like obviously this tried to happen in the 60s.
Run toe to toe or shuffle toe to toe?
Shuffle toe to toe. I think
Sure.
we'll run parallel in terms of possibility between
Mhm.
these two, which is, I think our culture, namely Canadian culture,
Mm-hmm.
will move faster towards psychedelics
Yeah, I would say so.
because like the possibility of real help and real solutions there.
Because how
Very-
else do you
very
survive
good.
winter?
My only throw into that is, like, I've thought about this. Do we really want everyone to be more aware?
I think we want less ego because I think like it would be
It's a great idea, but it's harder to control people who aren't as vain and stupid.
This
but
is true.
okay, so-
Economy-wise,
Yeah.
but culture-wise,
I don't necessarily think that because like I think it's not necessarily that you're more aware, it's that you're more aware of where you sit in it.
mm-hmm.
Because it's not like you're going to deny the idea of the things existing around you or not want to interact with them. It's just that your understanding of your place in there, I think, becomes a little less dangerous. Like you
And to be
become a
mo-
little less like less self-centered.
There we
You know what
go.
I mean?
You might become more open
But it's like-
to possibilities of working with everyone for a common good.
In
Yeah.
your vision of this psychedelic awakening
Mhm.
that could be possible, and I believe could be possible. I'm certainly not saying I don't believe it's possible.
Yep.
I just think that for that to happen, we would need a lot of government change.
So that happens from people that slowly have had experiences with psychedelics becoming more involved in those areas. And if the psychedelics become more prominent, it'll be less and less common that somebody has not had an interaction with a psilocybin in public office. Because it's one of those like, right now, if your doctor were to say, "Oh yeah, I trip balls on mushrooms once a year," most people would be freaked out about that.
Mhm.
I'd be like, "Sweet,
Yeah,
good
Kind
job."
of the phrasing too, though, right?
Yes.
The way we make it
I
sound.
trip balls.
But no, but
once
that
a
is
year.
how we make it sound.
Yeah, it
though.
does.
It needs to be normalized.
Yeah.
Well, and so this is
I
what I
have
mean,
an
like this.
experience
I
every.
have, I have a controlled, measured
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. You
with-
make
Yeah.
it sound more
Psilocybin.
respectable.
Yeah,
once a
I have
year.
I have a psilocybin retreat once a year.
Sure, that
But-
sounds like more adult.
Yeah.
Notice
But,
it says,
like,
I
what
have,
I'm-
I have a 1 gram experience with psilocybin each day.
Yes. I'm constantly on.
What if he says that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be like, "Sweet, you are ahead of the
But
curve."
see, that's what people do need
Hello,
to
Rick.
hear because Kevin doesn't come across as like ooh.
No.
And that's the
No, I don't.
image of psychedelic drugs is like, hey man, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's very
But those hey man people are hey man people with or without the psychedelics.
sure they
You know
are.
what I mean?
Of course
like,
they are.
Like if you're no, seriously, it's because that's the natural path that a person like that would gravitate towards because that's the embodiment of that vibe, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like the same thing that happened in the 60s where it was like this revolution started happening and then got immediately squashed
Mhm.
and hard.
Well,
So
was
my thought
there was
is,
a
like-
few years window.
Yeah.
Where it was like
3.
kind of hip and cool. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and the funny thing was like now that we realize more of it, it's like, oh, it was the government doing it. It was
Yeah.
just the craziest thing. It's like, oh, they were distributing the LSD. That's weird.
Yeah.
And then they
Mhm.
shut it down real hard right after. But that same fear of exactly what you're saying, that fear of everybody being aware, which is not the case. I'm sorry, but I've met enough people that have done psychedelics and they're not like guru aware
No,
Mhm.
no.
magical beings.
Certainly more than they would be without. Though.
Yes.
That's the difference.
And I don't think it's a matter of facilitating control, but I think people that are control minded would get really afraid of that and do an equivalent shutting it down hard. So like if Canada is in this realm of like, okay, we're psychedelic forward, and then all of a sudden the world changes and China becomes more prominent, or another culture that's more afraid of these things, like Russia is the same thing, and shuts us down hard would be the other possibility.
Mhm.
Because like we are already we're in the forefront of it. So if anyone's going to get mad at us, it's going to be everyone else, and we're going to be the scapegoat.
Another world power, yeah. And
Yes.
Canada
So-
can't become an example. Like if we show how well it's working for us,
Yeah.
then they start implementing in other parts of the world. Someone with a opposite view of that
Yeah.
may literally strike at us.
Yes.
And that would maybe be the end of that kind of thing.
I don't
Until the
I don't
ch-
think it'll ever really be the end of that. I think like that.
Well,
this stuff
no,
is
but like
interwoven
that
with us.
push of it,
Yes.
right? Like that not that it wouldn't happen again somewhere else,
Yep.
maybe even stronger, but
Yep.
that what you face is external oppression of the idea,
Mhm.
and then it dies off again, and then that rage, similar to what happened with Trump in 2016,
Mhm.
hasn't fulfilled itself and needs to explode still,
Yeah.
right? Like you have this uprising of interest in something, and unless it gets fully explored, it will just keep building,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's where I'm happy that it's coming from the scientific community
Mhm.
rather than the hippie community.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like the hippie community, great, but it comes with a lot.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It
there's
comes
a lot
with a
of
lot that nobody really has time for.
the
There's
baggage,
baggage.
of it,
Tolerance for. You know what I mean? Like there's a
Yeah.
lot with it.
Yeah, you
And
got
that's the other thing that ends up happening is you take a psychedelic and you look too much into things.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like because then all of a sudden everything is
Well,
everything.
You look too much into things without fact checking.
Yeah.
I've got lots of friends who will easily spout off all kinds of theories and like but this isn't productive reasoning unless we actually do our research on the subject.
Yeah.
It's great to say that solar is cheaper than any other fuel and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Do your research.
In essence,
there,
it
there
is.
there are downsides, and our success in slowing down our consumption of resources is going to 100%, if success to be found, is going to come from diversity. It's going
Yeah.
to come from diversifying our energy.
Yeah.
And I'm just using this as an example. I'm not getting into energy discussions right now.
No,
But
yeah.
I'm just saying that to say, oh, solar is cheaper per kilowatt, we're going to switch there tomorrow. That's not practical. There are downsides, like power storage. There are downsides
Storage is
to
a huge
changing the
issue.
grid. There are downsides to winter power production.
Yeah.
There are a lot of complex things that go with the system, and the system needs to be approached in a complex way.
The only thing that we have on the horizon for us, which, like, again, this is another race between powers, is this fusion reactor. Have you seen this?
No.
So MIT is developing a fusion reactor. They have a design for one that theoretically works, and China has the same design.
Wow.
Weird how China has the same design as what MIT did.
Funny, eh?
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like somebody may have tip-tapped into that and figured out how to steal some plans. Anyways, that has the only real possibility for sustainable energy
Mhm.
in a way that is efficient for us. And not to mention it's efficient for us for space
See,
travel,
I'm
which is really cool.
Unless carbon
Constantly
nanotube batteries
thinking
are real.
with all these
No,
concerns
this would be better than that. Nuclear glass batteries.
True.
for energy and space on the planet and global
Dude,
warming,
it's crazy.
Really.
It's crazy.
all of these different concerns that we're having living on our planet.
Yep.
I'm thinking, do we fix that or do we just stop living on our planet and just live within our devices? And like we have this kind of dual-legged thing happening where we're trying to fix the problems we have on Earth, but we're also like, what if we escape further inside devices and just stop?
Well, I mean, then you could technically argue that, like, if you didn't have to keep interacting with the outside infrastructure, if you didn't have to keep building giant cities and
We
things
don't need
like
as
that,
many things
to use
creating
resources,
pollution,
then all of a sudden it would be like, okay, we can work on our climate and then expand in the digital
right.
realm.
And I've seen it go even a step farther with all the quarantine and the lockdown, and people stay home, don't go out.
Yeah.
Who says that's ever going to stop? Who says there isn't another disease or illness coming down the pike?
Well, there is,
And
and
then-
who knows when that's going to happen.
Further the plot of stay home, exist.
But at the same time, the way that our bodies are set up, even now, they're like, oh, stay home was not a good idea.
Oh, I know.
Because, like, immune system wise, like, that's really what it'll boil down to is, like, when do we start looking at the health of our people?
I think we have to, for sure, because
it's cool, right?
Yeah, 3 weeks ago, an article was released by New York Times saying that a nuclear fusion reactor that has a real good chance of working at MIT could be completed by like 2023, 2024.
Yeah, the working prototype, they're aiming for 2024 and
welcome to the future.
Full-scale production by 2030.
Can anybody say mass extinction? Never mind.
Well, fusion's different than fission, though.
I'm just taking it back here.
Although, like, they're creating small stars, technically.
They're releasing a lot of energy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And like the ability to control it is always going to be the issue. But that's like
course.
this is the cold fusion dream
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that has been around forever,
Of
which
course.
is like unlimited energy.
Yeah.
Which like, okay, all of a sudden, all of our thoughts on like electric cars needing to have fossil fuels, any of that stuff in terms
This
of like,
is why I don't think it will be a thing. I think it'll be suppressed. I really do. Because there's so much money that gets lost in this kind of improvement.
I'm not sure.
I would argue the same.
I think nowadays
I think this creates money.
between public support, because like first of all, public support
Yeah,
is
it's
a big
huge.
thing. If someone comes in saying, "I can make this technology real," they're gonna win that election.
But how many big, wealthy, controlling interests have money in gas, right? How do you just go, okay,
Oil's-
you
Yeah, but
guys
that's
are
like-
out?
Oil's losing its power right now.
I was-
Oil's losing its grip on the economy.
Yeah.
So like I've been following the markets not as closely as I should be right now, but closely enough to know that more and more oil's becoming that squeaky wheel
Mhm.
with a loud voice, and more people are saying,
Yeah, very loud voice. Sure.
"Calm your tits,
Mhm.
Shh, chill out."
Yep.
It's more and more, and there's like there are more oil technologies coming to surface that aren't even hitting public news anymore.
Yeah.
Did you know that up north we're building a facility right now that can take oil and turn it into pucks?
Crazy.
We're going to take plastic recycling stuff, mix it with our oil. It's going to form a solid puck, little chunks of stick. Think briquettes
Mhm.
for your barbecue.
Yeah.
It's going to turn into that. You load up rail cars, you load up tankers, whatever. You can't have an oil spill anymore. A train derails, you pick it up with a shovel. You got this. Sure, there's a mess, but
But it's just pucks.
it's chunks. It's chunks. It's pucks.
Hmm.
You release into the ocean. You can A, collect most of it. Hopefully, it floats. And B, you're not getting this liquid dispersion. You're limiting the surface area from a liquid to solid chunks.
Yeah.
And then it gets to China. They have a reverse facility that turns this back into a liquid crude. They refine it. Good to go. That didn't even hit the news.
Yeah.
That's if you're
And that's huge.
researching CP rail stock, you'll find 1,000 articles about how this is a giant success and an industry innovator. But something like this in the oil industry,
Well, the reason why it
barely-
doesn't hit news is because it's not broad enough for people, right? Like
That's
it's not
right.
it's not going to trend.
Well,
Like-
and like look at the time that it's coming out in.
Well,
Mhm.
for
If it's
sure.
not-
Look
if it's
what's
not about this
happening.
election, nobody cares.
Not even
Yeah.
just the election, but look at this year.
Oh, this has been around
Yeah.
for 2 years. now.
Black Lives
really?
Matter.
Oh yeah, that's the, this is
COVID,
2-3
old
years
sure.
old
technology
news.
now.
But there's always something more palatable and
Mhm.
spreadable out there to
Yep.
keep this stuff from making any kind of headway.
I just think we're in a very interesting time, and it has the possibility to go real right or real wrong.
Oh, in so many directions.
Yeah, and I think it'll probably find like an unhealthy middle because that's the way it seems to go for almost everything.
Yeah.
But I think for a long time I get the argument of why these things were squashed in the past, but
Well, yeah. There's been
I
all
think-
kinds of developments that I've known about that just never happened because someone would lose money over it.
I think the people that are good at making money see where they can make money from, and I don't think stopping these things makes sense for them.
Well, eventually we have to move on to get farther, right? And that's what humans do.
The pucks will float in water,
Wow,
and they'll save producers $15 a barrel.
wow.
And this didn't make the news. This is where the oil industry
Just
is
not.
right now.
It's just like I
It-
said. It's got no.
They've
no
got a voice, and they're
cachet.
yelling as loud as they can, and they can't get heard because no one cares.
Well, investors care.
Investors care.
People
But
who
what I'm
are,
saying is
are interested.
Their public
care.
influence, their lobbying power, is getting turned down all the time.
Well, and like not to mention, I'm sorry, but anyone that's 20 years old doesn't like the idea that we're using oil anyways.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? Like so many
Unless you're doing
20-year-olds I
Alberta.
talk to don't have licenses,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is like that in itself is like, huh?
Well, see, I had a license, but I didn't start driving all the time until I had to because
Yeah.
I think a car is a bit of a waste of money, to be quite
It is.
honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunately a waste of money I need now.
Yeah.
But it ends up costing me like $600 a month between gas, insurance, and the car payments.
Well, think about it this way: 10 years from now, if their theory is correct and we can go in full scale production, you're going to get on to the point of it will be almost no gas cars allowed because we have nuclear fusion providing us unlimited power.
So what are we going to do with all these old cars?
Get rid of them.
Just
Recycle
get
them.
rid
Yep.
of
Recycle.
Recycle 'em.
yeah.
Yeah. Really?
That how much of an effort is that?
It depends.
We already
And then
have
you'll have people who are like renegades, like I'm still driving gas cars.
gold diversity in a world where
And they'll pay huge for gas.
in a world where
Yeah.
90% of our transportation is covered by a clean energy.
Yeah.
10% can get 8 miles per gallon
Yeah. Who
and
cares?
chug around.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But-
not to mention even the production of the electricity to run everybody else's cars, there's zero waste from as well.
Mhm.
That's the real thing, right? Like, because if all of a sudden all of our industry in terms of production of power has zero waste, I'm sorry, but like we're
Well,
not touching this planet.
Zero waste doesn't exist in the sense that we still need to use a lot of heat to
Sorry.
melt those metals and
Carbon
fabricate.
neutral.
Carbon
would be
neutral.
would be the
Well,
It's a
monetization.
no,
step
it's
in the
still-
right direction
the-
for
the-
sure.
Individual kilometers are carbon neutral, but manufacturing and disposing of the vehicles is super not carbon neutral. Mining all that lithium, super not carbon neutral. You're destroying salt flats in Chile.
Well,
Um,
assumedly that we're going to be in lithium. I don't think we're going to be in lithium for very long.
I think we'll be in lithium for a while yet.
I don't think so, man. I think like carbon nanotube
It's-
version, it's
I-
super. And
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think carbon nanotubes feasible
in what respect?
unless fusion could be the key that unlocks nanotube.
A lot of things.
Because if we can create enough electricity,
Yeah,
then
that's the main
suddenly
thing, right?
nanotube creation could be feasible.
Well, like that's one of those things that like any real, like even just the idea of us like exploring space,
Yeah.
like fuel is a real
Yeah,
problem,
yeah.
right? Like because you have a limited supply of it.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, you put a little tiny sun inside of your spacecraft or your space station or whatever the fuck. Like it's like you have this little
How-
unending ball of something. All of
how-
a sudden, the limitation of production is way different.
How is that fusion going to propel a vehicle? Like a vehicle in a zero matter environment.
I don't necessarily think that it's going to propel it. I do think that it's going to power it.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Fair.
So
Touche.
because like if you're going to try and make a production, because that's the main limitation, right? Is a production facility in space would be the main reason that we could be able to travel. Because you're losing,
you're right.
You're using
Well done.
propel. All of your propulsion is meant to get you out of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have the ability to construct in
Mhm.
space and launch from space with full tanks, we already have booster rockets and things like that. That makes it so having an efficient propulsion system that can last for a long time is way more feasible. So in terms of us getting to and from Mars, it becomes way less about, because then all of a sudden you can start propelling yourself faster
Yeah.
because you can burn for longer, and then you can also decelerate without the loss of.
I think by the time we can reliably go to Mars and back, whatever we want, we'll be going all over the place. Because
Yeah,
I think it's just that one last thing, and then you can go wherever you want, feasibly anyway.
Well, wherever
Within
you
the-
want in our solar system.
Yeah,
Okay. Because
not. I don't know how
intersolar
much
system
farther
travel.
we'll ever make it.
Yeah.
To be quite honest
exactly.
with you.
we have to
Same.
figure out gravity.
Yeah,
That, like if we can figure out gravity propulsion, which
Oh,
like
yeah.
now they're starting to release papers on gravity propulsion. I don't know if you've seen this, but because like gravity propulsion, that's the thing that Bob Lazar was talking
Of
about
course,
in
yeah.
terms of that. But like now they're starting to release studies of how that would work, and why it would work, and what the potential would be for travel.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we could travel, because basically you're pausing time
Yep.
while you move through it.
And this bleeds into what I was talking about last week about time travel.
Yeah.
I think once we start figuring out this, we'll be able to manipulate time better in general, and then the possibilities are a bit more endless.
Yeah. If we have gravitational,
control.
if we have gravitational propulsion, then we can go to other solar systems.
Yes, easily.
Yeah.
And like it might still seemingly take a shitload of time, but
Of
perceived
course.
time would be nothing.
Well, not to mention you need to build a lot of these and send them to a lot of places before you're going to find anything.
Yeah.
Because as much as you can look up in the sky and see what looks like unlimited stars, the amount of space taken up by matter is the
Infinitesimal.
teeniest fractions of percents. Most of what's out there is just empty space.
Yep.
So
Most
you-
of us is empty space.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest
think
part
about
of it.
yeah.
Think about it. If we didn't have this building and all the crap in it, look how much open space there is.
Yeah.
It's just imagine if you start building stuff like that out in space, right? Right now, it's just basically just if this building didn't exist. It's the same
Yeah.
thing in space, right?
Yep.
Just empty space as far as the eye can see, basically.
Yeah.
And everything's moving.
Everything's moving
that's
away
the weirdest
from each
thing.
other.
From,
Everything's getting
Yep.
further apart.
it's like the speeds that everything is just kind of cruising at. It's
It is,
weird.
and it's funny because it doesn't look like it's moving that fast because
No.
we're so far away from it.
I read some fun articles about dark matter this week
Oh yeah.
and how dark matter is the thing that's actually pushing the universe apart. So what we call void, what we call space, is actually, like, I'm talking scientific articles,
Mhm.
is actually dark matter. The thing they can't reconcile is that their calculations on dark matter mean the universe should be slowing down in its expansion or speeding up, but
It's
rather
not.
it's staying at a very constant rate of expansion.
That's another topic that I'm so interested to see if they ever come across it, because like the whole theory on dark matter seems a little fishy. It seems like someone forgot to carry a one, and that's
Mhm.
what's spurned all this. Because it's like
Can it just be nothing? It's
Well-
so nice if it's nothing.
well, like because what they're trying to take into account is the matter with the gravity, right? And because like it's supposed to equal out, and it's way more gravity than there is matter.
Yeah.
And like, so therefore this dark matter to account for the rest of the gravity is my basic understanding of it, which like to me is like
Hey Siri, define dark matter.
In some cosmological theories, an unluminous material that is postulated to exist in space, and that could take any of several forms, including weakly interacting particles. Cold dark matter, high energy randomly moving particles created soon after the Big Bang. Hot dark matter.
Well,
There you
that
have it.
wasn't as layman terms as I was
No,
hoping.
that was
Yeah,
not.
that was pretty high intellect for my.
see, and the
Yeah.
thing that's frustrating about that is like dark matter is considered a noun. It is a theory.
Mhm.
They have not found dark matter.
Yeah.
They have only observed what they think could be dark matter, right? Because like the whole idea of dark matter is that if it interacts with matter, we all explode. Which like again, I don't understand why they think that's the way that it goes,
yeah.
but I'm sure there's evidence, and maybe we could get a scientist on here to explain.
I don't
this.
think that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Oh, who knows? But either way, it's
I feel like if we all read a lot about dark matter, we would come on here and explain it reasonably well.
I think if we just even think about it a little bit, we'd probably get it, right?
Yeah, it's a little out of
Now
my
you're talking my
ballpark.
language. So
Sure.
next Wednesday, we're gonna eat a mushroom
Yeah.
and think about dark matter,
There's the real dark matter.
and then and then we're
And
going
spend
to
2 hours in the
explain-
weeds.
Then we're finally gonna explain to the world what dark matter is.
Maybe we can get to Australia at some point too.
Dear Neil deGrasse
No.
Tyson, we solved it.
No chance.
Yeah, not
Scott,
a chance. In
that'll
the
be
world.
the underlying running gag of the show.
Yeah, Scott's travels
Scott's
that we'd never
travel
talk about.
mysteries. That
Yeah,
we'll talk about anything and everything
Yeah.
but.
I'll Photoshop the van I had in Australia.
Let me
to
tell
look
you
like
about
Scooby-Doo's
Australia
van.
20 minutes later.
Yeah.
So, again, about dark matter.
Yeah.
It's like, what? What happened?
what
Australia?
happened?
Something.
That's what science.
It's a
has.
mystery,
Yeah.
It's like dark matter.
and the answer is drugs.
Drugs.
Um,
Which is a good way to sum it up, really.
That's right. that's
Considering how far we get away from it, really.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But,
All I'm saying is the future is cool
Hey,
or
right. The future's
terrifying.
pretty neat.
I got one. Are you watching the debate tomorrow night?
There's a debate tomorrow night.
There's supposed
I'm
to be.
of course watching it.
Like it's still tentative because
Yeah.
who knows what could happen between then and now, right? But
Biden
they're
gets diagnosed.
Tentative.
But they're shutting mics off,
they're going to be shutting mics off, if
which is
people talk.
adorable.
Between?
Yeah,
if they
that's
talk more than
adorable.
10
God.
seconds
They
or
talk
something,
too much, so they got to shut off their microphones.
Well,
because they're children.
because it's like, oh well, Trump won't let Biden talk or whatever. That's the
Biden was-
idea. Biden was doing it too, but that's the narrative. And
It's
But that's what the debate is.
It's such a posturing contest. It's become such a game show that if Trump or Biden didn't try to talk over the other person, their voters would
view
lose
as weak,
confidence
yeah.
because you look weak.
Yeah.
So now they have to put in childish rules and childish measures to keep these two people
well, you're
civil.
not. It's not even
because
fair
well,
though.
it's all
because,
posturing.
well, but like in order for Trump to be Trump, he has to be bombastic.
yeah.
That's
Like,
right.
and I'm not saying, I'm pity Trump, but like that's his character.
Okay.
That is who he is.
New theory. At a debate, every debate, they each have to give a PowerPoint presentation on their plan for the next 4 years that they have to do themselves.
Oh, I don't think you'll
Now
ever
they
get
are both
that.
over 70, and I'm guessing would have a very hard
Now,
time with that.
how
So
do you
it
prove
could
it?
be adorable.
What if they live stream the two of them sitting alone in a gymnasium?
Yeah, they have 2
Do
hours
we-
to put together a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, 2 days.
Mhm.
2
Yeah.
days. Let it be good.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, good.
yeah. Give them 2 days because they have to learn PowerPoint first.
Well,
So,
then they
like,
would have to be honest, and that's not something either of them
Yeah.
are willing to do
Yeah.
because they're going to run on promises that they are not going to actually
But if we're treating them
carry
like
out.
children, like let's just make them do a school project.
yeah,
That's what it is.
I'm in.
Like, I don't know, they're grown men. Like, just let them talk. Like, let them talk and figure it out, or just talk about what you're gonna do.
That's
I hate
never
this
gonna
idea
happen.
of like calling it, oh, you didn't do this and you didn't
But
do that. And
here's
blah, blah,
the
like,
issue: if you give these 2 dudes a microphone and sit them in a room together,
Yes.
they're gonna talk endlessly for hours
About nothing.
and accuse and blame
Yeah.
and get nowhere.
That's politics.
Get nowhere. Exactly.
That's politics.
Yeah, but
How
that's
about-
where the audience gets to grab the popcorn and
Mhm.
enjoy the show, right?
What if they had 10 minutes each, and they had a long
It's not
form
long enough.
conversation? No, 10 minutes each repeating.
I don't think it's long enough.
I think they
But
just
no,
go
but-
in the same circles they go in now.
Yeah, I
what
think
if-
it's just they'd have to filibuster for longer, which
Yeah.
they're trained in.
Yeah, of course.
Like politicians are trained to filibuster, so it's like
Yeah.
if you just want to fill 10 minutes and talk about absolutely nothing.
But what if the American people are listening
In a
and
way
the
that people
Canadians
like?
too for some reason?
You
Yeah.
give
What if
them
the-
more time, you get farther away from answering the question.
Yeah.
Canada is shut up, little man.
Yeah.
We are that. We're listening and we're recording it,
Shut up, little man.
and that we're just observing these two men yelling at each other.
I had a decent dinner ready.
Seriously, that's crazy. We
You-
are that.
You still haven't heard "Shut Up, Little Man"?
no, I
have you?
sure haven't.
Oh, you
you-
gotta
You haven't
Well,
lived. You
watch
haven't
the
lived.
debate. That is basically what's happening.
It's pretty good. I don't know if we can.
Oh yeah, we can't even hear it.
No, we can't.
Oh,
We'll get
bummer.
taken down.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, you're right. It's voyeurism, right? Because
Yeah.
it's nothing to do. Well, it has something to do with us, but not really, though.
No,
Fair.
we will be affected by it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how much.
Yeah. Well, how much is however much we pay attention, really.
I mean, our everyday life.
Mhm.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean,
the only
used
thing
to
that we
think-
would benefit from really now is Trump's expedition of the vaccine thing. Like if they're able to figure out a vaccine that works, because America just has more money to put into it. Canada's trying, and we have a couple trials that had to get shut down or whatever. But like, it's beneficial for us to have an economic superpower pushing ahead on
Mhm.
that.
I used to think that we were like little sister or little brother to America, and what they did, we mostly just followed suit with. But
Mhm.
we've kind of gone in our own direction, clearly.
We're the older, less rowdy.
Yeah,
sibling.
we're definitely more. We've got it more together.
Yeah.
Like it's not quite as volatile.
We have
Sure.
our- We only have 35 million people, so we have our poop in more of a group.
Yeah.
We can move.
And we have space.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those things that like I understand the numbers game that they're playing
hmm
in terms of like COVID stats and things like that, but we have the luxury of being spread out.
And as much
Mhm.
as we're still super partisan, we're still able to move a little more in step.
Yeah.
Whereas the push pull there is just
Oh, it's insane.
unreasonable.
Everything is
absolutely
polarized.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, again, I think we're in a place where we're a little bit more on the edge of what societies are doing, which I'm happy about. But we
Mhm.
haven't really lost too much of the capitalism side
Mhm.
of things. But you know, I'm interested to see what it looks like in 2 or 3 years because I think
I'm excited to see what it looks like a year after psilocybin's legal for recreational
literally
use.
not
Yeah.
even recreational. I'm more excited
Therapeutic.
therapeutic because like I
Yeah.
hate the idea of someone getting an antidepressant. I hate that
Right,
idea.
right. Imagine if they could have a 1 hour consult session, a 1 hour therapy session a couple of times,
Mhm.
followed by an intentional supervised trip.
I just think microdosing. I think like I
No,
know the
I- I
I think
research
that's
is
the
going
way to
for
go ahead
macro,
with it.
but the research is the way to go for macro
You're gonna
because
have
they're
an
trying
easier
to
time
observe.
selling that than the trip.
I agree.
I've met enough people with extensive psychedelic experiences who still have lots of unhealthy viewpoints in the world. I mean, we all do, but I mean,
course.
people that you would expect the psychedelics to have solved some of these sticks that are way up their butt.
Mhm.
Um, and a bit of good therapy with a 1 gram trip, I think you could focus and actually get to the bottom of some stuff with some professional help.
I think even the idea of, because what we're struggling with is like openness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think like
And acceptance that other people exist.
yeah, I just think that like in people's everyday lives, having come from a place of depression and realizing that antidepressants don't help with
Mhm.
that thinking, the pattern thinking.
Antidepressants are
Um,
giving a man a fish.
Yes.
Yeah, not teaching you how to fish. Exactly.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say for microdosing is the observation.
Yeah.
Because usually what you use a
The
therapist
dissonance
for
from
is
self.
is to be the
Mhm.
projection, right? So you're
Mhm.
going to project onto them, and then they're going to feed it back to you, being
Yeah.
like, "Hey, why did you do?"
Mm.
Which I think is necessary, and I think is probably the most beneficial for people that have little to no experience with it.
Yeah.
But I think for Joe Average, that's just trying to figure out why
Yeah.
they can't do that, I think
It's-
presenting them with an optional self-observer
yeah,
is very helpful.
especially helpful because most people don't know how to reflect on their own.
Yeah.
Like
Which-
most
which is-
people really don't know how to internalize and really figure things out.
And I don't think a mushroom will teach you that. I think that you should read a book first.
Yes.
I think that you should read a couple of
Yep.
books. It'd be great if our study goes that direction. There will be books intentionally to help you have a
good trip.
good intentional beneficial trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of just here, have this crazy experience.
That's right, because a crazy experience can be unhealthy in the wrong direction, right?
Set and setting, man.
I was blessed to learn from some psychedelically intelligent people,
Mhm.
and I learned some good psychedelic habits. Not intentionally super healthy,
Mhm.
but healthy enough with the right respect for it that my relationship with has never been anything but good.
See,
you
and
know?
that's what we need to push more because I think a lot of people that don't like this idea are just pushing back on the, oh, it was a crazy trip
Because
and
it's,
like that
because it's
whole
easy
thing.
to have a negative experience or
Well,
an
yeah,
unhealthy experience.
and the way, but the marketing needs to be more like what Kevin was saying, like where it's very scientific, and the microdosing is a
Yeah.
great way to start because a lot of people don't want the loss of control,
Yeah.
That's right.
right? So
I also think that's
that
why
you,
they're doing MDMA.
Yes.
Sure.
Because MDMA,
so in
you're
control.
so in control.
yeah, it's just like I think what's hard to sell people on is feeling that loss of control and also that stereotype of the stoner
Yep.
and the hippie, right?
Well,
Like,
and like people thought this stuff fried your brain. That
exactly.
was a marketing.
Yeah.
So you need to do it in a way that feels clean and
Yeah.
That's
sterile
right.
and adult. And then I think from there you can make more progress
And-
to having a guided trip.
And in
or-
the micro to small range of doses, your chances of having a negative effect
Super
Mhm.
are
small.
much slimmer. Because,
minimized, yeah.
yeah, you're turning down the extremeness of a positive effect,
Mhm.
but you're also turning down the chances and the extremeness of a negative effect.
Yep.
Yeah, you get a much more round
I really want to talk about
Controlled.
psychedelics all day, but I need to set up for work.
Yeah, let's just do
Yeah.
some psychedelics.
Let's just go eat some mushrooms. I'm gonna cancel on my people
Yeah.
today, and let's go play in the
Day's
snow.
over.
Yeah.
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 All right.
All right.